Grimsby.
Good evening from Grimsby in north-east Lincolnshire. This is Sunak versus Starmer live, the battle for number 10. Welcome to Grimsby Town Hall, where we're joined tonight by the two men vying for the keys to Downing Street, Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer.
We're also joined by a live audience, many of them from here in Grimsby. Sky News has been reporting from the town throughout this election year, finding out what matters most
but have you met
to
people from
here.
Grimsby?
It's exactly the kind of seat both
very
our
nice.
candidates this evening need to win.
You told me not to use a certain word and you're tempting.
Over the next 90 minutes, the Conservative and Labour leaders will each be put through their paces by our political editor, Beth Rigby. Before
some of them got really
facing the
screwed over by
questions you
deindustrialisation.
want answered.
Well, that is true, yes.
Schools, housing, the list is endless.
Childcare, education,
That is an ugly
NHS.
baby.
Want some change from what is there today.
More provisions for the children with special educational needs.
Pay attention to the voice of the people.
They just need to get their stuff together a little bit.
We just can't support all this immigration.
The cost of living is getting worse and worse.
Boomers.
They said they were going to stop the boat. They haven't stopped one boat.
I feel so much for the young. What are they going to do?
We can't afford to live, we can't afford to eat, and we can't afford to go into higher education.
More job opportunities in the local area.
People I just need a bit more listening to.
Get your act together and sort the country out.
That wasn't a very
We've drawn
Grimsby
lots
accent,
to
that one.
decide who should go first this evening, and it is the Labour leader, Keir Starmer. This is the battle for
Keith.
number 10.
Not the first ballot he's going to be winning in the future.
True.
Keir Starmer, thank you so much for coming to Grimsby
Thank you
tonight
for having me on, and thank you to the audience for being here.
Well, let's kick off. You told the country Jeremy Corbyn would make a great Prime Minister. You then expelled him from Labour. You campaigned for a second EU referendum.
No
Now
way.
you don't talk about the EU. And you dumped all the left-wing policies pretty much you once loved. Your short political career is a catalogue, actually, of broken promises and changed positions.
Yes!
So how can the people in this...
Yes! Beautiful. Absolutely belting beginning. This is the level we need to be at.
I'm so glad that election period makes journalists actually ask real questions because, I mean, this has been our complaint from the start.
Exactly.
Our literally entire complaint has been this man is just a liar who says whatever he thinks people want him to say.
5 years! This guy's had 5 years of just, like, allowing to just dispose of promises and shitting on everything he's ever believed in.
Just lie after lie
the
after
media
lie
have just
after
gone,
lie.
On his vibes, awesome. Look how neat his hair is. Woo!
Oh, he pulled up his sleeves at the lectern.
And now it's far too late for there to be any meaningful difference. Now they're asking him questions. Jesus Christ! I can't wait to see what waffle he comes up with now.
room,
COVID
trust
Ukraine.
anything you say.
Mistrust.
When we lost the 2019 election, we lost very badly as a political party, including here in Grimsby, where people felt that they couldn't vote for the Labour Party. And I concluded that I should listen to the electorate, and when you lose that badly, you don't look to the voters and say, what on earth do you think you were doing? You look at your party and say, we have to change.
Do you get
the
trust issue?
The change that I wanted to bring about, and I have brought about, is to change
It's
the
kicking
Labour
the left
Party,
away.
to put it back in the service of working people. And what has guided me through that at all times is that the country must come first and the party second.
You get
So I've had
trust
to take
issue.
difficult decisions to change our party.
but you get-
But that's it. That has
Okay.
guided me through.
But Seki, you get
Yeah, but you didn't say that's what you were going to do. You lied to the Labour
Yeah.
leadership election to the membership. Yeah.
Exactly. Like literally, that we all knew that that's what you wanted to do because that's clearly what the campaign in the background were priming you to do. But actually, no, like, you said none of these things during the election campaign. You said the complete opposite and said that you promised managerial Corbynism with a union flag stapled to it, not let's purge the left, turn the Labour Party into the Liberal Party.
Yes.
There's a trust issue here with voters. You accept that?
No, because what I would say is that...
No. I mean, literally all of the polling suggests that I'm as popular as rabies, but no.
That's a really interesting point. He keeps saying, we can't look at the electorate and say, what are you doing? No, the polls show that people don't trust you, Keir. You've literally done what you said you shouldn't do literally 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, bravo.
This. I decided it must be country first. So every decision after that, I judged previous decisions, previous positions, and I said, is this truly country first, party second? If the answer to that was no, then I changed the position and dragged my party back to the service of working people.
Not your
party. I want this time round to put a Labour Party in front of people here in Grimsby and across the country that they know is a credible party that is putting the country first and has a clear plan for the future. And that's been the hard work I've done over the last 4.5 years.
Let's just go through that, because in the last 2 general elections, you asked people to elect Jeremy Corbyn as their Prime Minister. You said, I do think Jeremy Corbyn would make a great Prime Minister. Jeremy Corbyn, did you mean that?
I was certain that we would lose the 2019 election.
That's not the question that was asked, Sir Keith. You're a lawyer. You should be good at looking at details of things here, right? She asked you, were you lying when you said that? Not, was your prediction of the election?
Was he lying when he said that Jeremy Corbyn was a friend as well as a colleague? Like, did he lie all of those times when he wanted to pay tribute to Jeremy Corbyn? Like, of course he was lying, but you know, lies are okay if it happens to the left, apparently.
And that's why I hope I hope that independent MP John Lee Crumbles is returned, and that Keith has to deal with him. That'll be fun.
That wasn't my question.
I was certain that we would. I was certain that we would lose it. I did campaign for Labour. Of course, I did. I will openly say I campaigned for Labour. I wanted good colleagues to be.
You will openly say that, dickhead. That's not in question. You were the shadow Brexit secretary, mate. Yes, we know. Can you just answer a question?
No, of course you can't. Free space.
Dishonest piece of poop. So you got me speaking like a 7-year-old now. I'm self-conscious. I'm all over the place. Oh.
Be returned into the Labour Party,
when you said it.
And I wanted a party that was capable of being changed so we could face the future again.
Did you not mean it when you said it?
I was certain that we would lose, and I think many other people.
You are such. I mean, I wonder why no one trusts him. She's asked him 3 times now. No, well, I was going to. Well, actually, do you think Jeremy Corbyn was a piece of poop? Scrambled eggs. Yeah, thanks.
Exactly. I wish again that they would just say, do you think the viewers are stupid? They can hear you not answering this question, and you mock our viewers and the electorate when you refuse to answer these questions so blatantly. You're treating people like they're idiots.
Yeah. I was certain that we would lose.
So you didn't mean it?
I was certain that we would lose.
So you said it because you didn't think he would be Prime Minister anyway?
Of course I campaigned for the Labour Party at the last election and the election before that.
I'm sorry, Robot Droid 3000 has malfunctioned. He's just repeating the same 2 sentences over and over again, regardless of what she says. It's just... Well, I campaigned for Labour, but I was sure we would lose. But we campaigned for Labour, I was sure we were going to lose. I campaigned for Labour...
Broken record, yeah.
Before that, I've always campaigned for the Labour Party, and I'm glad I did, because I wanted good colleagues to be returned to have their seats so that we could fight for the future of the Labour Party.
I will move
so
on.
I make no apology for that. I fought for the Labour Party at the last election.
I'm just trying to make the point to everyone in here that you said that he would make a great Prime Minister.
Keep that letting go.
Now you actually say, yes, I thought that, or I didn't think that at the time. Just be honest.
I honestly didn't think that we had a chance of winning.
That's not the question!
No! Mate, this is worse than just answering now. This is actually worse than just answering and making yourself look a bit of a tit. right?
Yeah, just say I was lying back then. I was lying when I thought he'd be a good prime
Because
minister.
now everyone's like,
he would be.
why is he? What's he hiding? He's given the same answer like 5 different times now. And fair play, for once, the coronavirus of journalism has struck once again. We've got
absolutely ring the journalism bell,
holding him to account, holding his feet to the fire, which you should have been doing for the last 5 bleeding years. But at least you're doing it now. That's nice. I can't wait for election day for that to stop.
So you said it anyway.
I wanted
even
to campaign for our colleagues, and I then, once we got the result that we did, which were the results that I expected that we might get, as I say, I decided to step up to lead the party, not something I had planned to do when I came into Parliament, and to change it and to put it back in the service of working people.
The reason and we will move on, it's
right, but you said you were going to not change the party, actually. You said you were going to continue to do the same sort of policies that Jeremy Corbyn had.
Yeah.
And now you're literally a Thatcherite.
Yeah.
So...
It's a trust issue, right? Because you...
Well, look, let me deal with this issue.
Getting heckled!
I worked... I went to Northern Ireland and worked with the police service over there. I said I would work with the team to change it, and we did. I then ran the Crown Prosecution Service. I was the Chief Prosecutor for 5 years. I said we would change the Crown Prosecution Service.
My dad was a toolmaker. I said I'd change it. We changed it. Pebble Dash Semi. Mum was in the NHS. Oh, God. It really is beep boop, beep boop. Can we turn him off and on again? It might be the only chance we've got tonight.
Make it better, particularly on violence against women and girls.
Mick Lynch soundboard at the ready.
I said I would change the Labour Party 4.5 years ago. Most people said you can't do it. I did. So I stand on my record.
OK. So, OK, let's just go to your record, because I'm going to run you through your record, because people have to judge whether to vote for you.
Can you just ask the question that was being heckled there? Why are you lying?
Yeah, indeed. Why is he lying?
Why are you lying?
I mean, of course, because he's a compulsive liar. He's lied for 4 or 5 years. Yeah. He lies and lies and lies and lies about everything. He would lie about the colour of the tie that he's wearing. He'd go full Lionel Hutz. Actually, I am not wearing a tie at all.
Exactly.
In fact, my tie was a toolmaker.
That tie was anti-Semitic, but we've changed the plot. We've changed the attire now, so it's absolutely fine.
It's political record. When you stood for election as leader, you did so on the basis of 10 pledges. They were very left-wing.
Yes.
A couple abolished tuition fees, common ownership of energy, water. Did you write these pledges, Sir Keir?
Yes, and I put them before the membership of our party. Most of them are still in place.
Whoa! Are they?
No, like 8 of them are all gone.
You've got rid of virtually all of them. So that's, again, you're lying about lying, which is... Look, he's doing compound lying. That's a high tariff manoeuvre.
That they were bound up with
economic 6 or 7 of them, actually.
Justice. No, that's not.
He's getting laughed at in Grimsby. Yes.
Oh my God, Beth!
Oh.
Going for the jugular.
Oh, this is like porn. It's awesome, man. I'm actually gonna bust. I swear to God.
Entirely true. But look, I'm not going to shy away. Have I changed my position on those pledges? Yes, I have, because I've asked myself, honestly, are these country first, party second? And if the answer to that question is no, then I've changed them, because I think this party should always...
You should have gone back to the membership with that change of plan then, considering how severe it's
been.
Because you sold them a false prospectus, my man. You lied to them, just like you lied to your electorate by standing on 2 supposedly uncosted and party first manifestos.
Put the country first. But the other thing I'd say, Beth, because I do think this is important...
But do you think they're wrong in principle?
Well, let's take energy nationalisation, which a lot of people think we should nationalise our energy companies.
GB Energy
coming
coming up.
Of money. Lots of people are paying a fortune on their bills. 2 years ago, at the height of the crisis, when people were facing very high bills, I said to my team, well, mock up for me, tell me how much it will cost to nationalise the energy companies. That ran into tens of billions of pounds. And I had to take a decision, which is, do we use tens of billions of pounds to pay off shareholders to nationalise the company, but not have any money to reduce your bill? I thought that would have been the wrong decision. I think most people watching this here or on the television would say, for heaven's sake, here, if it's a choice between keeping my bills low or paying off shareholders tens of billions of pounds. There's only one choice you can make. And that's what I mean by country first, party second. I changed my mind. It was too expensive. I wanted to get the bills down.
We need to get to the audience questions, so let me...
OK, but if we tax lots of rich people, we could actually afford both of those things?
It's true, indeed. And on top of that, like, you don't even need to necessarily nationalise all, like, the energy suppliers. I've said before, they all have their margins capped, so it'll probably be a waste of money to do that. Like, I disagree with that. But at least, when you're going to have this idea of a national energy company, at least have it be a nationally owned energy company that either supplies or generates electricity. Because that's what you told the public you were doing, and you've not done that. You've created an investment fund and have lied to the public that it's an energy company when it isn't.
Yeah.
We rattle through this bit, if you don't mind. One of the pledges you can definitely afford to do, in fact, you might want to do, given the state of public services, is to raise tax on the top 5% of earners. That's anyone earning over £80,000 a year. Why did you ditch that? You can do that. That money would be useful. It could make £2 to £3 billion a year for the public purse.
Let me be really clear about tax, because this has been a big issue in the last 3 weeks. So let me be absolutely clear. All of our plans are fully costed, fully funded. We will not raise tax on working people.
That's not an answer to the question.
No tax rises for income tax, for national insurance, for VAT. Our manifesto comes out tomorrow. It's a very forward-looking manifesto, but there's nothing in our manifesto.
OK, but she specifically asked about your pledge to raise tax on the top 5% of earners, and you literally have not remotely touched on that.
Because, like, first of all, there is this idea that, well, no, you've said you're ruling out a bunch of public spending because there's no money for it, which you could raise by increasing that tax.
Yeah.
And second of all, there's already an £18 billion shortfall in loads of public service provision that the IFS have noticed, and you haven't even bothered commenting on.
That requires us to raise tax.
You've swerved the top 5% of earners
No, nothing requires us to raise tax. And I tell you, I do want to... You're challenging me and I want to deal with this. I want to do things differently. I want to grow our economy. I accept that previous Labour leaders have sort of pulled the tax lever every single time and driven up spending. I want to grow our economy. The manifesto tomorrow will be a manifesto, a plan for wealth creation. Now, you may not hear a Labour leader say that very often, but for me...
Yeah, because you're not a Labour leader.
Exactly, you're just a Thatcherite.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing.
And
therefore, I'm not going to do what other Labour leaders have done.
That's not a promise you made at the electorate. When you're getting elected as leader, you didn't say, I'm going to try and create wealth, I'm going to try and grow the economy, find things, whatever. You said tax the top 5% of earners and then use that to fund public services. And you've gone back on that pledge. You are a liar.
Yep.
Tax honesty, because you often say the country's public services are broken. Many people, I think, in this room will agree with that. That's why many people also suspect when you're in power, you will raise more tax. And I want you to be honest here, please. You've said you'll raise specific taxes on profits on oil and gas companies, closing loopholes on tax avoidance, tax reform on private equity, VAT on private schools. But the Tories say you will...
Ooh, tinkering around the edges. Yeah.
Will go further. They're right, aren't they? You will.
Well, the first thing I'd say is the Tories are in no position to lecture anyone about tax rises.
I want to start...
We've got the highest tax burden for 70 years. And I think that working people shouldn't pay more tax and we will not raise their tax. What we need to do is get the economy going. There's a reason that taxes have gone up so much in recent years, and that's because the economy
I want to start this hour by...
We have to address that problem. And tomorrow our manifesto is a plan for growth, a detailed plan of the first steps we will do in government to get our economy working so that living standards go up and we have the money we need for our public services.
So no tax rises of any kind in the next Parliament under Labour?
No tax rises for working people, and nothing in our manifesto requires tax rises over and above those that we have specifically set out.
No tax rises in the next Parliament?
No tax rises needed in the plans in our manifesto.
In the plans?
No tax rises for working people. That's income tax, national insurance,
so you're
and VAT.
not ruling out. I just decode that for you guys, because when a politician says no plan...
Oh, my God. It's like a super journalism. OK. I'm here for it.
And it does mean I might.
Well, Beth,
I've done this a bit.
That might be the biggest round of applause that happens tonight. Brilliant.
Look, I'm not going to sit here tonight and write the next 5 years' worth of budgets, and you wouldn't take me seriously.
You're releasing a manifesto!
Is that we will not...
That's what a manifesto is!
Look,
you fucking idiot!
You're expecting me to tell you what I'm going to do in government? That's crazy talk. No, just elect me and hope.
Oh my god!
He's fucking shit. But look at the lost little boy eyes he has now. Because he's had 4 years of not being questioned on this shit, having to put forward no real policy. And when he does put forward a policy and then scraps it, it's fine, whatever, good vibes. At least he's not a crazy scraggly-haired man or anti-Semite, right? And now he's actually been questioned on it and been said, no, you do have to tell us what you want us to vote for, mate. And he's like,
manifesto. Can I not? What the manifesto was
can I not just continue to talk rubbish and you'll all just vote for me anyway? Oh no!
Yeah, it's just like give you a mystery box to vote for. I'm sorry, I do apologise to headphone users, but I'm losing my fucking mind. I'm gonna have like a mental breakdown by the end of this stream. Like, this is the day before your manifesto release. And you're saying, I'm not going to tell you what plans I've got for the next 5 years. That's your job. Yeah. That's what the manifesto is for.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Tax. You ruled out NI.
Yes, because...
So you are ruling out some tax rises, but not all.
Because I think working people are paying too much tax. And I think paying far too much tax in recent years.
What I'm hearing
and I think that has made the cost of living
I'm going
crisis
to clip that bit, by the way. Please do.
Worse than it would otherwise be.
What I'm hearing is that you are not ruling out some tax rises, and you've talked about working people.
Keith, this is embarrassing, mate. She's literally dunking on you. She's flexing on you right now. She is fucking your wife and looking over and winking at you. Come on now.
But I have said that none of our... We're going to unveil our manifesto tomorrow. No tax surprises.
I got it.
There's going to be no need to raise tax from the plans we're setting out.
But the point is there are other taxes that affect working people, aren't there? What about council tax? I'm sure many people are worried about that. Yeah? The Labour Party in Wales launched a review of council tax banding. Are you going to rule out a review in England too?
Well, council tax is too high for many people. It's been going up. It went up again this year, but that's because the government lost control of the economy.
You're not going to do a review.
Well, there's nothing to do with them losing control of the economy.
Yeah, this is honestly, this is the kind of thing you'd expect from someone who fundamentally does not understand economics at all. He's just...
because he doesn't.
He's just... And again, it's an often used point, but I think it makes sense. It's the kid who's asked to give a book report and hasn't read the book. He's just saying words and hoping. If he just puts out enough bland kind of Barnum statements, some of it might make sense and people can read into it what they like. And he's going to get a massive majority anyway, so fuck you.
Yeah, he's going to say, would you like to vote for the mystery box? And the mystery box is going to get a fucking 400,000 seat majority.
True.
Really,
you know, they were last revalued when I was a teenager, and I'm really old now.
Yeah. Beth, you're pushing me over and over again on tax. I'm not...
Yes! You want to be Prime Minister, you flipping idiot! Yes! She's pushing you on tax because you want to be the Prime Minister, the man who gets to raise the taxes! It's like having to explain to a cat! Stop shitting on the carpet! Like, it's so simple, mate. It's the basic... Oh, I'm going to have to put up with this absolute wanker for 10 years as Prime Minister.
Literally 10 years.
I don't know that I can primal scream enough already.
Yeah.
Oh, you keep asking me to give you policies, whereas I'm just saying vote for me and shut up, plebs. Is literally the message. I wonder if the people of Grimsby will react well to that, Keith.
Tax. I think people are taxed too much already. What I want to do, my central mission, is to grow the economy. I'm not going to apologise for that, because I genuinely think that if you don't grow the economy, then you're taxing an ever-diminishing return.
I mean, people here will be worried about fuel duty, right?
Yeah.
The Conservatives have frozen it.
What fuel duty? Something. They've ruined the economy. Fucking hell.
Since 2011. If you unfroze it, you could get 5 to 6 billion quid. That's a tax on working people.
Yes, and that's why every single...
you are going to freeze it?
Every single budget, we have supported the freeze on fuel duty.
And you will continue to do that as Prime Minister if you would win?
We have to concentrate on growing the economy. On fuel duty, that has to be decided budget by budget. But my track record is we support...
he's going to do it or not? I don't know.
We've supported the cap on fuel duty every single time it's come up.
OK.
But
you're a wanker, mate. Look, I know that's not deep political analysis, but it doesn't need to be. He's not saying anything.
No.
He's just a pointless wanker in a suit. You could literally replace him with anything. You could replace him with a fucking teddy bear. It wouldn't make any difference. He's just Labour Together's little sock puppet. That's all he is. He's a sock puppet.
Sooty.
He is. He's Prime Minister Sooty, KC. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And he's going to get a 600 bazillion majority. That's the worst of it, because the Tories are useless. God almighty.
I want to do things differently. If we just do things in the same way as we've done for the last 14 years, we'll end up in the same mess. I'm not prepared to do that. This election...
You are! That is literally what you're planning to do. You're just going to do more austerity and nothing will get better.
About change, about doing things differently, about growing the economy and making sure we create the wealth so this country can run our public service. And I'm
going to have one more go.
I ran a
I'm going to have one more go. Keith, she's literally saying, you're a bitch. You will not answer this because you're a massive gaping bitch, right? So I'm going to try one more time to try and get a straight answer out of you, you fucking bitch.
It's like he's in detention.
It is. Yeah.
What's he going to say next? Is he going to say, unlike I used to be a warrior like you, but then I took an arrow in the knee?
That is one hell of a reference. Love it.
No, I do want to finish this. I ran a public service for 5 years.
Did you?
I ran a public service in the austerity year.
Oh my God!
You should have mentioned this before, Keith. Which one was it? Oh, Department of Defence, I reckon. Yeah.
Yes. I know what it means to be a public servant. I absolutely care about our public services. My wife works in the NHS. My mum works in the NHS.
Was your dad a toolmaker, Keir? Was your dad a toolmaker? Bingo!
We didn't. Why haven't we played bingo tonight? God damn it!
We would have had house already at this point.
It would.
Fucking 5 minutes in.
Off the charts.
And I know what it means to the NHS. But I absolutely want our public services to function.
I like the fact that the audience are giving him a bit of needle. I don't want people to just stand up and interrupt or anything, but just give him a little bit of a mumble and a grumble and a why you lying.
I swear down, chat.
Love it.
I swear down, chat. If I had managed, if I'd have gotten into the audience for these things, I would have printed out bingo cards and handed them to people in the audience and get them to shout "house" when he's got all of the things in a row.
Oh, this shit posting, God. Amazing. That would have been amazing.
I'm going to try and get into a future one. I'm trying to apply.
I believe in them. I worked in them for 5 years.
I've heard the specifics on certain taxes, but to be clear, council tax revaluation, which could put up council tax bills, fuel tax. You're not being explicit on it, and that is your prerogative. But what about capital gains tax? That's the tax you.
They're so used to the politicians being lying bastards. That's your prerogative. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. He wants to be Prime Minister. I think the prerogative is the people's, and that is tell us what you are going to do. Give us the truth so that we can assess that truth and decide whether to vote for you or not. It's called democracy.
You pay when you sell a valuable asset like shares or a second home. If you made capital gains tax the same level as income tax, you could raise £14 billion a year. That must be attractive to you if you want to repair public services.
Also, before we move on, I'd like to ask, why have they set this apparently on the set of Blind Date?
It is a bit Blind Date, yeah. We're going to have a lot of laughs. Let's go. There's a reference from 1992. You are very welcome.
A choice that we are making. It will not be unveiled tomorrow. There's no surprises in our manifesto because our manifesto is a manifesto for growth. It's about how we tackle our planning laws, how we get the skills for our young people, how we set up Great British Energy. This is going to be a publicly owned energy company. So the taxpayers' money that goes into investing in energy comes back to the taxpayer.
Please clip the funny bits and post them to Twitter. Please clip.
I Although I won't see them because I'm not.
Please clip them, post them to Twitter and tag me and I'll retweet you.
Let's go.
Our economy for the future.
Just the reason I'm asking you this is I don't know if you remember that interview we did in September 2021 when I asked you about wealth taxes. You said people who earn their money from properties, dividends, stock shares, they should be looked at. We need to look at a range of options, and that includes the way people earn their money. So you were looking at wealth taxes. You are looking at wealth taxes. It's okay to say it.
We're not looking at wealth.
Oh, God, he's so pathetic. Did you see the looks on his face there where he's like, oh, shit, she's got me. Oh, no, I'm going to have to answer. Can I just say we expected to lose in 2019 again? Can I just say that all the way through?
Taxes, nothing in our manifesto will require tax frozen. You'll see it for yourself.
You won't rule it out.
Let's test this tomorrow. I invite all of you, please, if you get the chance tomorrow afternoon, have a look at the manifesto. We're launching it tomorrow morning.
I'll be taking
But the manifesto contains nothing. The manifesto's 35 pages long, and you've already said you're not going to set out what you're going to do for the next 5 years on the campaign trail. You've said the manifesto is going to essentially just be a mystery box. So yeah, like they'll read the manifesto and it'll say we have no plans to have all of these things that we may or may not do. And she's already called you out that the we have no plans thing is just something that you might consider in future, but you don't want to rule out.
You will see for yourselves that every single thing is fully costed, fully funded, and they do not involve tax. So we're going round and round in circles.
Well,
that's the document that we're going to launch tomorrow.
If it's not ruled out in the manifesto, it's on the table. So let's just carry on. What about you personally? You earned £128,000 in tax last year. You paid £44,000 in income tax. That puts you in the top 2 to 3% of earners. Would you personally be happy to pay more tax?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
But I've always paid my tax in full. But, you know, and I accept I earn a lot of money in the job I am now in. But when I grew up, my dad was a tool maker. He worked in a factory. It's true. My mum...
Oh, mate.
Even the audience is sick of it. You know, they keep saying, right, he has to keep saying toolmaker because people haven't heard it yet. We've all heard it now. We're all sick of it. Please talk about your policies.
The people of Grimsby, some of whom are toolmakers, know that you're condescending and you're just repeating the same line. They literally laughed at you, mate. Stop it.
It's not even necessarily condescending. It's just, it's more kind of patronising. This idea that you can, like you can trust me at being Prime Minister. I know what it's like to be you because my dad was a toolmaker. I know I'm massively divorced from that, given that I've been a hotshot lawyer and the head of the Crown Prosecution Service. Apparently, not that he mentions it for however long, and I'm a very well-paid politician. Like, and it's not like I've massively moved away from that class background, even though my dad actually owned a tool-making business, wasn't like just a salaried worker. Then I don't care about your background. It's fine if you have created class mobility, you've gone through class mobility. That's all well and good. Just tell me your policies. That's what the election is for.
Yes.
I was a nurse, and actually we couldn't make ends meet, which actually isn't a laughing matter. We couldn't make ends meet.
Ooh, that's not. He's literally sniping at people laughing at him now.
The thing is, he thinks laughing at him. They think they're laughing at him because they think there's something embarrassing about being a toolmaker. Like I get this all the time, like on Twitter and things, or on social media. Well, I'll make the toolmaker joke, but like, oh, so you think it's unbecoming of people being a toolmaker? I'm like, no, it's a skilled profession that's necessary for our economy. What we're laughing at is that he says it 5,000 times a minute. And second of all, he keeps using it as a tool, lol, to avoid actually talking about any policies or any actual direction because they're trying to get us to trust the mystery box because they're doing this whole Ming Vase strategy that involves not saying anything that any part of the electorate might get pissed off by because any direction might throw some sections of the electorate away from you. But that's not how politics works. You will lose some people by saying things they don't like, and that's fine. Just admit that you have no actual direction.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say this now. He keeps saying I'm not going to apologise for stuff. I think his dad should apologise for not pulling out, but that's just me.
For creating the tool.
We couldn't pay our bills. I know what it feels like to feel anxious about the next bill which you can't pay. And a lot of what I recognise is a lot of people today are in precisely the same position as I was in. And I Politics is about your policies, of course it is, but it's also about who do you have in your mind's eye when you make your decisions? Who are you thinking about when you make your decisions? I'm thinking about the people who are struggling with their bills. I'm thinking about working people who deserve a better Britain. I'm thinking about working people who want their living standards to go up. And our plan for the country, which we will set out tomorrow, is a confident, hopeful manifesto for change.
But I'm nearly finished. Because I want to come on to something that matters to working people, and that's child benefits. At the moment, just to remind you all, if you probably know, there's a 2-child benefit cap for families, some of whom have more children than that. This is hitting some of the poorest and most vulnerable in Britain. The Resolution Foundation think tank says families cannot claim about £3,200 per extra child a year. Dozens of organisations, from the Trade Union Congress to the Church of England to the former Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, have called for it to go. Will you scrap it? Is that in your manifesto tomorrow?
No, it isn't. And it's been a really difficult decision for all the reasons you out.
Not difficult for you, is it, though? Because you're on 125 grand a year. You're fine. Okay.
Again, that's the fucking... I put out a video responding to Andrew Rayner on this very thing, and it was just like, it's not a difficult decision. It's an easy decision because you want it to be you looking tough on benefits for the electorate. It's entirely performative, and you also want to look tough on the public finances in a performative manner. Because, of course, you could raise taxes to pay for it with capital gains or whatever it might be, some kind of tax rise that you could do, I don't know, a financial transactions tax, anything. And you could pay for that. It's not expensive to get rid of the 2-child benefit cap. But it's performative. You want to signal that you also support crackdowns on benefits and tight controls on the public finances. And that's fine. I think it's shit, but I understand the electoral reasons for doing so. But don't fucking lie to me, Keir. Don't lie that it's a tough decision that you've made because there's no other things that you can do. You've made a clear and present political choice that you would rather performatively starve children than make it look like you're soft on benefits. But at least admit it, rather than pretending that you can't find, what, £3 billion to influence it. Because you can, it's very easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Outline, because the last Labour government had a laser focus on dealing with child poverty and did a huge amount of good work, including Sure Start and the programmes that were set up.
It cost £1.3 billion. All of those wealth taxes I was talking about, or the 5% on top earners, you could do that, and you could do that policy £1.3 billion a year.
Huge damage has been done to our economy under this government. Huge damage. And if we are able to...
That doesn't stop you being able to tax.
Yeah. God almighty, he's awful.
This man's bad at this.
We're going to inherit a broken economy, a broken NHS, broken public services, in fact, broken everything.
And you're a broken fucking record, mate.
Not going to make promises that I can't keep. So I'm doing actually a difficult thing, which is saying to the electorate, saying to you now, I can't do something which I know the benefits of it. We need to deal with child poverty, and we will have a strategy for child poverty. But I'm thinking...
We will have. Not that we have. We will have.
Again, who knows? Not the manifesto, because it's fucking empty.
Whee!
They're fed up with politicians who, before the election, say we'll do everything, and then after the election they don't deliver. So I've taken a decision
to make no claims whatsoever, just to put forward no policies at all. Brilliant. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing you've done there, you absolute gobshite.
Which is before the election. I'm going to tell you what we can't do, even though some of these things are good things to do.
So, Keir, I'm going to interrupt now because I'm nearly out of time. It would lift 1 million kids out of poverty, and just to be clear, you're choosing not to do it.
It's a difficult choice. We will have an anti-child poverty strategy, of course we will. The last Labour government did. We will have one. But the easiest thing in the world is what Rishi Sunak is doing, is to simply say you can have everything. Unfunded commitments, unfunded promises.
Then fund it.
That's what got us into this problem in the first place. And working people are paying the price with higher bills, their mortgages. I'm not prepared to have a Labour government ever make that mistake again.
Don't applaud him.
Sir Keir, some people feel that they don't really know you. Some people say you change your mind all the time, and I hinted at some of that. Some people say you're boring and stiff. Tell me something. Tell me something, a morsel about yourself that will change people's minds.
Look, all my life, I've believed in service. That is why I worked in Northern Ireland with the police service of Northern Ireland to ensure I had the confidence of both communities. I thought that was a really important thing. That's why I worked and headed up the Crown Prosecution Service, public service. That's why I came into politics when I finished.
Look, McLibel. That's like the one good thing that you've done.
What to do next? My wife was ringing adverts in the papers about, well-paid lawyers' jobs, and I said, no, I want to serve my country, which is why at a late stage, actually, I came into politics to serve my country.
Was Vic, your wife, not keen for you to do this?
No, she wasn't at all. She
what
thought
does she think
it'd be
about
far better to continue being a lawyer on a.
Because really and truly, this is a fucking lie. This is an absolute lie. He didn't get into politics because he wanted to serve the country. No, he got thrown into politics as a member of Holborn and St Pancras CLP at the last minute by the NEC because they needed somebody to be Ed Miliband's potential Attorney General if they won the election they thought they were going to win. Just go, you're a lawyer, you'll do.
Yeah.
That literally, he was inserted by the Labour Party. He was thrown into politics against his will. This isn't a thing that he went up and did. And again, like, if you wanted to talk about the things that he's done in his past that might surprise people, like, talk about the actual good things that he did, ending or getting people prevented from being executed in countries in the West Indies, for example, in Africa. The McLibel case, where he worked for free, trying to get people who were being sued by the billionaire lawyers of the McDonald's Corporation. Like these good things that he did. Again,
all of that great work he did. All that great work he did to get Jimmy Savile prosecuted. Oh no, he didn't.
Or all of the Portuguese people that he got deported for stealing ice cream. That's his record at the Crown Prosecution Service.
Bro.
Was it Ian failed to prosecute the Ian Tomlinson event?
Yeah. No, some really good stuff. The unbelievably low conviction rate for rape and sexual assault as well. That was good.
Which Emily Thornberry, as a Labour MP, deliberately criticised that the CPS wasn't doing a good enough job against VAWG when Keir Starmer was head of the CPS.
Not anymore, though, surprisingly. Now she's in his cabinet.
Reasonable salary and not have all of the challenges that you get as a politician. But I was clear in my mind. I wanted to come into politics because I wanted to serve my country. And I've waited 9 years now in opposition. I've worked 4.5 years to put my party back in a position where I can put it before you and others, the voters, as the only party that's got a plan for the future.
If you become Prime Minister in 3 weeks' time, what do you fear the most?
Oh, the only real fear, I suppose, I have is for my family. I've got a boy who is just turning 16. He's 15 3/4. I've got a girl who's 13. These are really difficult ages for children. If they're under 5, it's probably easier. If they were 20 or over.
What are you going to do, right? When you go home to your children tonight, you look them in the eyes as Prime Minister on July the 5th, and if they ask you, Dad, were you truthful throughout this entire election campaign? Were you telling the truth to the country? Will you be able to look them in the eyes and say yes? That's a question I'd like to ask you, Keir.
Yeah,
I'd like to ask him directly.
I think he'd be happy to lie to his kids as well, yeah.
Yeah, would you be happy looking your children in the face and lying to them like you've lied to the country? If he comes to my constituency campaigning, this is exactly what I'll say to him.
Well, look, absolutely he will lie to his kids. He'll lie to anyone. He's just an empty husk of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be easier. And my only fear, really, is the impact it's going to have on them. That's why we never name them in public, never have a photo shoot with them. I want them to be able to walk to school and have their own lives unaffected as much as I can by what I'm doing. And that, I don't fear the big decisions. In fact, I relish the chance to change our country. And on the first day, I want to start on our first steps. I want you to see the change that we can bring about. But my only fear is actually, and the only thing that sort of keeps me up at night is worrying about my children.
Any doubt that you're up to the job?
No, not at all. I've led different organisations, I've changed them, and I want the opportunity to change the country.
They're sick of it. They're sick of it.
Still, after 15, 20 minutes, going on to the future and this growth process that you're going to go through.
Well, thank you for raising that, because we've got what we've done is we've set out the big change that we want to make, but also what the first steps will be that we can do on day one. So the day after the election, I want to start on our first step, stabilising the economy to make sure we never go through a cost of living crisis like this before. Set up Great British Energy so we can keep your bills down. I want to start on the 40,000 appointments each and every week that we need to get the waiting list down in our
the man is
NHS.
literally the NPC.
We will be doing that the morning after the election, and that is what I look forward to most.
Well, I do mean to interrupt. We've got to get to the audience questions. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for coming and doing that with us. And now you've got some harder questions from this lot.
I'm looking forward to it.
OK.
I don't think that first one was meant to happen, though. I think that was just a heckle, wasn't it?
It was a heckle. I mean, fair play to the guy.
Well, there you are, the audience questions getting underway a little bit.
I mean, Keir's going to have him executed, I'm sure.
What Keir Starmer had to say to Beth Rigby there. He said he was certain that Labour would lose that 2019 election, but he has put the party back in the service of working people, putting the country first, he said. He also insisted there's nothing in the party's manifesto, launched tomorrow morning, that would require them to raise taxes for working people.
There's nothing in the manifesto.
He said the party isn't considering wealth taxes, with all of their commitments fully costed. And he also said that he would personally be happy to pay more tax. Well, now it is your turn
to
put your questions to the Labour leader.
Because it's not about individual sacrifice.
Now, our first question comes from Sharon, who is from Grimsby. Sharon, where are you? There she is. Sharon. Take it away, Sharon.
So, as someone born and bred in Grimsby, I'm proud of our town, but it has some of the most disadvantaged areas in the country, with high levels of child poverty, inadequate social housing and increasing numbers having to use food banks. How will Labour address these inequalities and improve outcomes for the most disadvantaged residents, both here and across the UK?
Well, thank you for that. And I've been to Grimsby a number of times now, and my strong impression is that you're absolutely right about the challenges that people are facing, and we've had discussions about that even this morning with various groups around Grimsby, the very real challenges, the cost of living crisis, the challenge that people have with schooling and with health. But what I've also been struck by is the pride and ambition that people have in their place and in Grimsby, and the sense that they want a government that matches their own ambition. I think the way to do that is to ensure that the government works with local communities, local businesses. We need a growth plan for Grimsby, which your fingerprints are on. I don't want someone standing in Whitehall and Westminster looking at a map and deciding what they think is best for Grimsby, because I think with people with skin in the game are the people who make the best decisions. So I want a government that...
Which is why you've imposed loads of outsiders on people as candidates, including two this week in Birmingham. The Hall Green and Northfield constituencies have both had outsiders who no one's ever heard of, one of whom is a decorated Afghan war veteran. So in order to replace the guy who was kicked out because he was too pro-Israel and the Muslims didn't like it, they replaced him with a guy who killed a different set of Muslims in Afghanistan.
Love it, love it.
Who's also not from the area and no one knows who the fuck he is. Brilliant. Yeah, skin in the game, mate.
Partners with you, drives through the change, creates the conditions for businesses to thrive. If that means changing the planning rules so we get our roads sorted out, the congestions and the potholes are an absolute nightmare. Create the conditions for businesses to thrive. I was really struck, the time before last I was up here, I was looking at some of the offshore wind turbines and talking to apprentices here in Grimsby. Brilliant young people, by the way, who all lived within about 20 or 30 minutes, of where they're working. And they were very skilled going out to maintain those wind turbines. We need more of that. The supply
I mean, this is just like regular growth policy. This isn't directed at poor people.
That's the sort of...
She said literally about like housing and you know, poverty and food bank usage, and you've not talked about any of that shit.
No.
I just don't care.
That's the sort of challenge that I relish. It's what I want to do on day one, which is to get to this place where I can roll up my sleeves, work with you, have the respect to listen to what you're saying here, not sit a long, long way away and make decisions about what should happen in Grimsby. And I'm convinced that if there's a government that has ambition that matches the people of Grimsby, we can move this forward very, very quickly. And I can see some of the green shoots there already, because some of the work that's going on, we had a round table this morning.
I'm listening to Alan Partridge. I'm just listening to Alan Partridge talk now.
It is.
He's
it is
just
absolutely.
saying words. We need to.
Well,
growth,
Rishi.
And the growth will grow.
Rishi.
The growy grow.
I've got Rishi's got 100 cows and I've got 104 friends.
Exactly. Moo.
With some of the businesses, the community
so
groups
big.
here in Grimsby, they were telling me not just the stuff.
Yeah, so Keith, what's wrong with feeding beef burgers to
beef burgers to swans?
Yeah, the grease helps them float.
And the challenges, but what they were doing about it, I want to roll up my sleeves and work with them and to say the government is on your side. That would be a massive difference to the last 14 years.
Who's clapping that? Why are you clapping that absolute non-entity of an answer? He didn't say anything. Look, you might not be angered by it or whatever, because you probably weren't listening, but why would you clap that? Fucking hell. It's desperate, man. We have to live around these absolute divs. Jesus Christ.
Well, how it's all going to be funded. If taxes are not going up, how are you going to fund it?
We need to put...
The same people are clapping.
We need to put money and resource into Grimsby. We need resource decision-making to come. So we have to be bold enough in government to release that so that there's more...
We need to be bold and vision and synergy and connectivity.
Absolutely. And synergy equals enablement, and enablement conversely equals synergy.
Exactly.
Power here in Grimsby. They're difficult things to do. Governments haven't done that in the past, but we have to do that. Some of it we can do straight away. The potholes that are driving everyone mad because they're...
Potholes? Do you think potholes are the #1 priority for people who can't feed their fucking families?
I mean, it is definitely an issue people care about on the doorsteps all the time. They really do care about potholes.
But he's mentioned potholes twice now. He hasn't mentioned food banks at all.
Yeah, literally, yeah. The one question where you don't want to talk about potholes the whole time is when people say, I can't feed my children.
Yeah. Ridiculous shit.
The cars get damaged, it costs them hundreds of pounds, and if you need your car or your van for work, it's a complete nightmare because you can't actually use it. That can be done straight away. We've been setting out our plans on that. Childcare came up this morning in a discussion I was having. We want to create 100,000 new places for childcare. This is 3,000 nurseries around schools, because I think primary schools are the best place for nurseries, so that means children get the opportunity to develop the skills that they need before reception year, which isn't happening in the way it should at the moment, in my view. But also, parents and carers can go back into work, which many of them want to do, and that then helps the local economy. There are things that we can do. Goes back to my point. We've got first steps, the things we want to do the day we get into government. If we're elected in, that I want to start, and I've said to my shadow cabinet, I want you to prepare months ago for the first day in government. I don't want you picking up the phone on day one. I want to know you're ready, and that's why I'm so...
OK, if they're ready, tell us what plans they have. Because you seem to suggest you don't, like, you're just going to, I don't know, I don't want to make any promises. Well, what promises are they making to you? What have they said to you that their plans are? And then you could put it in a document and you could call it a fucking manifesto.
Confident that we can do this as soon as we get the chance, if we do get a chance, to bring about the change this country so desperately needs.
OK, thank you. I've got so many questions.
That's all right.
Look at them all. Oh, so many questions. And the next one comes from Jonathan. He's a junior doctor from Leeds. Jonathan, there he is. Thank you.
So I've been on strike because I earn more money per hour working part-time as a university student than I do as a newly qualified doctor. Abysmal pay, conditions and morale mean that more of my colleagues than ever are planning their exit, and I worry about what this means for my loved ones and the wider general public. Scotland and Wales have decided that they can pay NHS doctors fairly. How and when will you commit to doing the same in England?
Well, we won't be able to do anything unless we win the election. We've obviously only been in opposition so far. I have been frustrated, if I'm honest, that these strikes have gone on as long as they have gone on. The strikes are very bad for patients. People are very anxious about the strikes. I don't think doctors want to be on...
It's out here going, I know that you really are in trouble. I've been frustrated. It's because you're screwing over patients. And that's how you win over voters, Keir. when you impugn doctors for striking for harming patients. Not a great answer to the question. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Yeah, it's almost like he's a wanker. Again, not high level politics there, but still, he's a wanker.
On strike. As I said earlier, my wife works in one of the big London hospitals, so I know firsthand and relayed every night the pressure that NHS staff are under. It's been unrelenting during COVID, unrelenting now because of waiting lists. So what we would do is, instead of arguing about who gets in the room first to negotiate with the doctors, we would roll up our sleeves in a grown-up way, get in the room and settle this dispute so that patients can get the care they need.
Speak like a normal human. Speak like a normal person.
Roll up sleeves, adults in the room. Woo!
Yeah, that's like the second time he said the phrase "roll up our sleeves." Oh my God.
I don't know. Maybe he's artificially inseminating a cow. I don't know. Could be any number of reasons why one would need to roll up sleeves.
Get back to work and the country can move forward, because we can't go on like this anymore. And the sooner we have a bit of grown-up politics in this, the better, I think, because we absolutely need to move forward as a country.
Are you going to pay them more?
Yeah, I was about to say, she just got in before me. Are you going to pay them any more money, dickhead? That's literally the guy was being a bit more diplomatic about it, because you're supposed to ask some more broad question or whatever. But basically his question was, are you ever going to pay us when you become Prime Minister? And
yeah, at least not answered, of course.
Not answered at all. I know what he was going to say. We can't afford 35%.
Absolutely. The Tories crashed the economy. Yeah. COVID, Ukraine, Liz Truss.
Exactly. If it wasn't for Liz Truss, I'd definitely pay you 35%.
If in doubt, break glass for Liz Truss.
Exactly.
Are you going to pay them more? Because you've said that you won't meet their pay claims.
Well, the doctors say they want 35%, and I've had to say...
We don't. We want a path to pay restoration.
No, I get that, but I want to be straight about this.
Fact-checked. Heckle fact-check. Motherfucker brought receipts.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah, and we're looking to make that. The 35% thing is not
pay progression conditions, and all of that can be negotiated on the 35%. I don't think we can afford that as a country because of the damage that's been done to the economy. I don't want to pretend to you that we can. I'll sit down in a room.
It shows you what an ironclad consensus the uber-capitalist fucks have on our national discourse. That Liz Truss is the best argument, in reality, for why their low-tax, neoliberal, libertarian bullshit doesn't work and is damaging. And yet it's being used by another free-market, low-tax piece of shit to argue in favour of low-tax shittery.
I know, right? Incredible. Like the easiest open goal win for Social Democrats for the rest of eternity in the UK. Because people talk about the Liz Truss moment for the rest of time.
Yeah.
And they're using it to kick themselves.
Yeah, they're using it as a way of saying, actually, no, let's do more Toryism.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, also, Keith, with this attitude, enjoy the strikes, you prick.
Room and negotiate and find a way through this, just as has happened in other countries, because it's intolerable that we go on. But I'm not going to start with the proposition that we simply accept whatever the other side is asking for. That's not how negotiations go. And you wouldn't respect a government if...
Also, the other side, you know they're doctors. It's not the fucking Germans, mate. Chill the fuck out with that shit. Like, you're supposed to be mutually cooperative. You're colleagues. You're not fucking hated enemies in the trenches. See, this is the problem. He genuinely thinks of working people as like not a part of him. He's the powerful elite. Fuck them doctors.
They're operating that way, and other people in other walks of life have got constraints and pressures on their lives that have to be balanced. But will we be grown? All that's happened this year, and it's
almost like grown
so
up for the fourth time.
The government say we want a deal, but we won't go into the room first. It's for the doctors
never wanted
to.
A deal,
well, I think you may be right, and the fact they've left this to the election without fixing it and just booted it the other side of the election.
By the way, Chad from the BMA to go out on strike just before the election. Good, yeah. Use the opportunity. Fuck them. You can call it political interference, and you know what? Suck my dick. Pay them properly, you idiots. I nearly said the bad word.
think is disgraceful. It doesn't do you any good, it doesn't do patients any good, and it doesn't do the country any good. But we've had a government that's chaotic, that's divided, has broken just about everything they've touched. I don't know a period in history, and you will all think about this, where almost everything is now in a worse state than when they started in government. And this is not about Labour or...
To be fair, that was the case with Churchill, but to be fair, the Luftwaffe did have a role to play in that.
True.
Just saying. The cities were a little more complete before he was Prime Minister.
Tory, if you leave your country in a worse state than when you came into government, you should be booted out.
OK.
Did someone whoop? Don't whoop. We're not America. It's like at the golf. Get in the hole. Honestly, there should be a sniper in every tree. If you shout, get in the hole, it's over. You are signing your own death warrant. It's done.
I've got so many questions. The next one comes from Hussein from London. Where is he? There
Hussein.
you go, please.
Yeah. Hi. So I'm an average working parent from London, and I send my daughter to a private school, which in turn saves the government about 7,000...
Oh, see, I thought he was going to be based, but it turns out he's dickhead. Okay.
£500 per year. But by now having to pay 20% VAT, we would be priced out, and we would have to send our children to state school. The fact... It, in fact, beats the objective of collecting tax. Rather, it increases the influx in public schools. So private schools is not only for the rich. I mean, the rich would continue sending their children. It's us who would have to make the change. And the ultimate losers in all of this are the children, who are meant to be our futures.
Yeah.
So would you reconsider taxing private education?
Look, let me be really clear.
No, fuck off.
Well, let me be clear, bingo. Take that off your bingo cards. But at the end of the day, like... the false premise here is it's like saying, oh, we're going to cost you money sending you to state school now. Well, no, you're now going to be spending your money on taxable things. Yeah. Rather than spending it on tax-free private education. You're going to take that tens of thousands of pounds a term, in some cases, and you're going to be spending that on consumption, which is going to be taxed. So that's going to pay for your child's state education.
And you know what? I'm glad that his tax rise has saved your kids from becoming the sociopathic monsters they would have done at private school. They'll now go to state school and become a normal, well-rounded individual, instead of just, like, hiding your body under the mattress or something so they can keep collecting your pension, or whatever psychotic shit that they get up to instead.
About what we're doing here. I have nothing against private schools. I absolutely recognise that...
I mean, I'd like to put several things up against them, but that would put me on a terrorist watch list.
Many parents work hard and save hard to send their children to private schools because they have aspiration for their children. I equally accept that every parent...
OK, but why have we accepted the premise that you can just buy that? Why is it that poor parents don't have access to that? Dickhead. No, it's fine. They've got aspiration for their kids, and because they're just about rich enough, their kids get it. Poor kids can go fuck off, though.
Every parent has aspiration for their children, whether they go to private school or not. But I absolutely
look at the boomers not clapping.
Point, because it is a concern. It's a concern to you and to other people. In our state secondary schools, we've got thousands of teachers missing in the subjects that we need. So in a state secondary school, let's take maths.
And can we just take a look for a second? I want people, especially people from outside the UK, Yankoids, if you're in chat, look how well we do integration here in the UK. We've got a brown man who, from his accent, was not necessarily born in the UK, or has spent a significant time away from the UK. Is also now has been so ensconced into the system that he can be a selfish, self-absorbed wanker who's annoyed that he won't be able to buy his kids the privilege they want. See, that's how you do it. Even our brown people are also cunts. Oh, I said it. Fuck.
People have said it in chat, I think, anyway. So.
Well, they're also C's then.
Too many students, young people, children are being taught by maths by sports teachers, by supply teachers, and that's not acceptable. And for those children in a state secondary school who don't have the teachers they need, that's not a one-year problem or a two-year budgeting problem. It's a lifelong problem, because if they don't get the qualifications they need at 15 and 16, they can't go and do what they want. So we need to recruit 6,500 teachers for our state secondary schools to make sure every child, wherever they come from, whatever their background, whichever school they go to, has the same opportunity. And
But we know that isn't true, because you've literally just said people have aspirations and they send their kids to private schools. So there is something intrinsic about private schools that gives them better access to that. It isn't the same. You know that. You're lying again.
Pressed when I say going to recruit 6,500 teachers. Beth and others will say to me, where's the money for that? And I say we will get rid of the tax break for private schools and use that money directly to fund those teachers in our state secondary schools.
Something actually worth applauding.
That's a political choice. It's actually a tough choice. I do understand what you're saying. I don't think it will lead to lots of people going to state education. We have done some analysis on this, but it's a choice. I think every single child, whatever their background, wherever they're from, should have the chance and to believe, genuinely believe, that success belongs to them. Yeah, of course.
But this would mean that you would tax the working parents who send their children to private school. Because the super rich will continue doing
we tax you if you're spending the money on something else as well. VAT is a tax on consumption. If you're not going to spend 10k on like a term's worth of private education, you're going to spend that money elsewhere, and one would presume that would also be taxable. You're going to get taxed regardless of what you spend that money on now. You don't just get to get tax-free to be able to send your kids to get a leg up on education that poor kids don't get. Why should that be a tax break?
Yeah.
What else do you want tax breaks on that just doesn't make sense, that gives people an extra amount out, right? You're going to give tax breaks on tutors? Do you want tax breaks on, lessons from people with MBAs? I don't know.
Yeah. Hello there, Rohak. I saw you in Gremlow's chat earlier, and I can't help but feel that I didn't give you permission to be in anyone else's chat. What are you doing? You cheated on me.
Working parents who will have to make a decision or pay the taxes.
The position at the moment is there's a tax break. So you pay VAT on other services, but you don't pay it for private schools. Now, I understand why that's been in place, but it's a tax break that we are removing. It's not an introduction of a new tax. We're simply saying we need to find the money to properly fund our state secondary schools so that in maths, to take an example, it's not the only example, I want every child to have a maths teacher teaching them maths, because it's the Prime Minister says he wants maths to the age of 18.
See, he does get it. I wanted to find the money to fund a public service, so I've taxed rich people. So you have discovered that is a possibility then, in this one very, very particular instant, and nothing else.
First, get the right teachers for every single child up to 16, because at the moment they don't have it. And I genuinely worry, if you don't get maths at the right level in your GCSEs, it's really difficult to go on to A levels. It's really difficult to go on to apprentices, and that child will be held back. Now, this is difficult stuff, but I'm not going to tolerate the fact that we haven't got the right teachers in our state secondary schools. That's the position we're in now. It's a disgrace in that position.
I'm going to interrupt you because I've got so many audience questions, and I'm going to be in trouble with you if I don't get through them.
Actually, Barry in chat, he's so much better when he's not just lying.
Yeah.
This is something I know that he genuinely believes in. It's a genuine policy that they've laid out in explicit terms that they want to do, that he's been questioned on, and he's responded sincerely, and he looks so much better. He looks like a real politician who's talking to people in real terms.
Exactly. Listen, the one tiny flame, the little flicker of life within him, is that one policy that he's actually excited about, rather than the rest of the shit he's been told he has to sell.
Yeah. Exactly. Whereas when he's lying or getting questioned or being lying, he looks incredibly tight and wooden and almost angry.
He's like a little robot boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm the one in trouble. So I've got Kerry from Grimsby. Kerry?
Yes, hi.
Please.
Hi. Good evening, Sir Keir. My NHS dentist practice went private and gave us a choice of either staying and paying private or finding a new practice. I've currently been on that waiting list for over a year with no idea of how long that waiting list is with my family. How would you fix this crisis and stop dentists from going to the greed of private?
We need to make sure that...
Why are dentists allowed to go private? I'm sorry, did your training, did you fund that privately entirely yourself? Or did the taxpayer fund that? Interesting, Mr. Dentist.
This is a huge problem because we don't have enough NHS dentists for adults or for children, and some areas are deserts now where you simply can't get an NHS dentist. So we've got to fix this. The two things that we would do, three things, but the first is to make the money available for 700,000 urgent appointments in NHS dentistry, including 100,000 for children, which is desperately needed. The second is to incentivise newly qualified dentists to set up as NHS dentists by paying them money to put down their roots in the areas where they're most needed, so we can recreate those NHS dentist practice. We have to do this. In addition to the people who are frustrated in the way that you rightly are, I was genuinely shocked the other day. I went to Alderhay Children's Hospital. This is a brilliant hospital. Do you know what, for 6 to 10-year-olds, the most common cause of admission to hospital is rotting teeth, to have their teeth taken out because they haven't seen a dentist. It's a disgrace in 2024 England and Scotland and Wales.
Again, look, this is something he's genuine passionate about. He looks great. He sounds great. That's a really good answer.
I wouldn't say great. He looks okay.
I mean, compared to like everything that we've comparing him to everything we've seen from him for the last like 4 years, I mean, I think everybody should be outraged. He looked outraged, and it's true. It is outrageous that we have kids having their teeth pulled out in A&E.
Well, it's loads of stuff. It's outrageous that we've got fucking malnutrition cases. Are we a third world nation now? Is that literally what we've become? It's madness.
That was quicker, at least.
You were. Do you use a private dentist?
Well, we're at an NHS dentist practice, but I'm private because I'm an adult and therefore don't get it on the NHS, but our kids get NHS dentistry, and I believe in it.
OK.
The nearest one available is somewhere further than home.
Yeah, and that's the problem. You've got these vast areas where the...
Have you thought about living in London and being rich? Because if you're London and rich, you can get a dentist. If you live in Grimsby, you're shit out of luck. So
it's not just how much it is, it's also there just isn't a dentist there, which is why, and that, you know, how have we got to this state in 2024 where basic things like dentistry are a problem in our country? I mean, what on earth has happened to get us to this place? We've got to fix it. I look forward on the first day we get into government.
Yeah, exactly. The austerity that is going to continue.
To starting on this job. I find all of that much more interesting than all the sort of talking about what you're going to do. I just want to get on with the job.
First,
talking about what do you mean winning an election? Literally, he talks about it like we're being outrageous, that we would ask him to come up with plans for things and tell us what he's going to do. No, just let me become Prime Minister and I'll just do some stuff. Honest to God. Is this the two most petulant pricks to ever run for Prime Minister at the same time? It's so annoying.
Stay we get into government, bold.
Oh, by the way,
okay,
one thing before we move on. If you're enjoying the content, you can subscribe on Twitch for $4.99 or for free with Twitch Prime by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account for a free sub every month, courtesy of the Bezos Bucks at no additional cost to yourself. You can gift subs to your fellow Twitch viewers as well on both myself or Kev's stream. 100 bits gets you text-to-speech on my end, 200 on Kev's end if you want to message it out. I've still got YouTube monetization on my end, so super chats work. You can super chat. I'll read out all super chats regardless
of
value.
No need to flex. It's outrageous.
And you can also become a member on YouTube for 99p for access to my static emotes in YouTube chat and YouTube comments. And you can also, it's cheaper than kind of Red Stripe at 99p. And you can also gift memberships, as Mithril did earlier, thank you for that, to your fellow viewers to help boost the stream and the algorithm. That is the best way to support the stream.
See, there's no need. Just dunking on me. In my hour of need, my hour of pain.
Question is from Cayman, who's from Yorkshire. Cayman, where are you?
Hello.
Please go ahead.
Hi. I admired how in touch you were with the public when you...
Oh, no, she just said, I will be getting it back. I just need to re-verify my thing, so a couple of days and YouTube will be back up. Don't worry for me.
obviously a solicitor, and then you became Director of Public Prosecutions with CPS. But over the last year, I feel like you've formed into more of a politician than the person that I would have...
You what, sorry?
Did he run the Crown Prosecution Service? I don't remember that. Was he Director of Public Prosecutions?
No, I thought he was a Pebble Dash semi-toolmaker, right?
Oh my God, fucking hell. You should have mentioned it.
Didn't he work in the NHS with his mum? What?
Voted for to run the country. You seem more like a political robot. How are you going to convince others like me to vote for you?
Well,
beep boop, beep boop.
Does not compute. It does not compute. Just lost it. Yeah, because it's true. Like, he has just a series of lies, a series of rehearsed statements just said over and over again like an NPC.
Yeah. Tell him you didn't think you were going to win in 2019. Just say that again.
The most... Look,
it's true.
They know
it's true.
I went to run the Crown Prosecution Service. You referenced that. I was the Chief Prosecutor for 5 years.
Don't repeat it! What the fuck? That's the point he's making. You're a robot boy.
Mum, Dad, smash the gangs.
It's just... Oh, I feel like Starmer Bingo's too on the nose now. Like, there's no sport in it. He's just a robot boy.
Starmer bot has performed an illegal operation and must close.
Yeah.
Would you like to send an error report?
Exactly. 404, program not found.
Years, effectively bringing every criminal prosecution in England and Wales, including here in Grimsby, in our courts to make sure that where people broke the law, they were prosecuted and you were kept safer as a result of that.
Yes, we know what that is.
Yes, we understand how the Crown
Answer the
Prosecution
question.
Service works, mate. Yeah, you deal with fucking crime. Okay.
Of course, with my staff. I worked before that in Northern Ireland, so I've had this constant theme in my life of trying to...
Of just repeating yourself. His point was you sound like a robot, and what you have done is prove him absolutely correct.
Yeah, you just can't run programme history in Northern Ireland plus DPP.
Yeah.
Execute.
Jesus fucking Christ.
To serve the public. That's why I worked in Northern Ireland. That's why I worked in the Crown Prosecution Service.
He's still doing it.
To go into politics. I came into politics quite late in life.
Oh my God! Every single sentence he has said in response to this is something he's already said. Every single... He hasn't said an original thing in response to the question that he's a fucking robot. Is he actually a robot? Is he not a real, actual flesh and blood human being? I don't know anymore.
Literally, you know what it's like. It's like the in iRobot. It's like the hologram of the scientist that goes, "I'm sorry, my responses are limited. You must ask the right questions."
Yeah, it really is.
Beforehand, but I took the decision that I couldn't take the issues, make the changes that I thought were necessary unless I went into politics. I was frustrated.
You think you've changed?
Well, I've been much clearer in my own mind that the country must come first and the party politics second. I'm really, I don't apologise for that. I think that's really important. I think it probably is a result of coming into politics late because
he still hasn't said anything original. At all.
All already said this evening.
Yeah, exactly. Not just the stuff he said before, because obviously, there's only so many words under the sun. But
he's blue screening.
He literally is. He's just a glitch. Sir Glitch Programmer, KC.
Tribally political. I actually do believe there are good people who vote other than Labour who want their family, their community, and their country to go forward. And that's why I've said if we are to come into power, I want a decade of national renewal. And I want everybody...
Decade of national renewal! Bingo!
Bingo. 5 missions. Beep, boop, beep, boop.
Wants the country to improve, to feel that there's a place for them, whether or not they traditionally voted Labour, because I actually...
Yeah, you want Tories to vote for you,
the vast majority of people in this country are reasonable people, they're tolerant people.
Have you met British people?
And also, this is not an answer to the question. This isn't the question that was asked. It was asked like, what's changed about you? Why should I vote for you after you've changed as a person? And they just going, here's my politician answers I'm going to give you.
Beep boop.
who sort of live and let live, and if given the chance, would pull together to advance their community, to advance their family and to advance their country. And I don't think you need to be tribally Labour for that. I think you can actually pull the country together. And that would be a real moment for us.
I'm going to have to, because I'm...
Yeah, of course, that was a bit long.
Didn't say a fucking word of interest, nothing original. Literally proved the guy was correct when he called him a robot.
Yeah.
Genius. Honestly, Keith, you are such a dickhead.
Apologies.
Cayman, did he convince you? Yes or no?
I hope you don't answer the questions how you answer the questions, and I hope you never answered them the way that you did when you were a solicitor, because you don't seem to answer the question.
OK. I'm gonna...
Oh, true. Correct. And an applause about that as well, because it's true. He doesn't answer the questions. In fact, that is the... That's like the one defining aspect of Keir Starmer's time as leader of the Labour Party. He just doesn't answer questions. He has a pre-programmed response that he repeats over and over and over again because he doesn't want to say anything that might shut a door for what they'll do in government, because they have no actual concrete plans for government other than just please vote for the mystery box.
True. Although what I will say is that not answering the question when you're a solicitor is actually sort of one of the skills. Like when you know he's guilty as fuck but you still got to defend him. Not answering the question is a relatively, you know, that's probably the best thing for it. That's why they've got the plead the fifth in America. You don't have to incriminate yourself.
OK, well, I'm going to need a speedy answer because we're nearly out of time, but I have Kieran from Guildford. You've got under the line. Where are you? Please, go ahead.
Good evening. Young people in this country have grown up knowing nothing but conservative austerity and political chaos. We didn't have the chance to vote for Brexit in 2016 because we were too young, and now we're inheriting that economy.
How old were you in 26? Look, I'll be honest with you, he hasn't aged well.
No, that's probably, it's unfortunate, isn't it?
Yeah, look, because it wasn't that long ago, mate, and you look old enough to have voted in that election.
Graduating from university, aren't less likely to own a home than our parents, all while paying a higher effective tax rate because of student loans that wasn't a thing generations ago. How can you convince us that you are truly going to be different and actually effective at making change, not just in terms of the economy, but also to improve our trust in political institutions?
Great question. Great question.
Honestly, that's a very, very astute question. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I need a quick answer, please.
Let's see the beat boop answer.
First, by absolutely being clear that I understand the challenges that you are setting out, and that's because I do something which I think is underrated in politics and leadership, which is to listen, to use these, to listen to the challenges that people...
You don't listen to questions, because you don't answer them. You literally had the last person asking a question about you sound like a robot and then responded by being a robot.
Yeah. And he's now saying, I know these problems because I'm listening. And by listening, I know what you've asked, and therefore I can answer a different question. Because I'm like a riddle.
The country the whole time. The most important thing I say to everybody I meet, please tell me the change you want if we're able to come into government, and I will mull that over in my mind on the train or in the car on the way back, because you have the right to put your fingerprints on what comes next. But just to address...
I think you mean Labour together will formulate a policy and you will just sell it to people.
Literally, or the like Tony Blair Institute.
Like he's come up with a single one of any of these policies. What are you talking about? Shut up.
The specific things. We need good quality, high-skilled jobs for the future for our young people. That's why I was so impressed, and you know, when I saw those apprentices here in Hull who had skilled jobs that they were proud of doing with a future to them.
Hang on, were they in Hull or Grimsby? Because you said they were in Grimsby earlier.
We need to make sure that we're building enough houses so that young people can get on the house.
Does he just think they're all the same? All of the places north of Watford are just, yeah, that's all
the north.
Same. Yeah,
exactly. It's all Northumberland.
Yeah, exactly. It's all northern. It's Redwall. There we go. You come from Redwall.
Ladder. At the moment, the idea that you have to be in your mid to late 30s before you get your own roof over your head is a sign of a broken system, because I know from growing up how important it is to have your own home as a base camp for your dreams, your aspirations, for the security of your family. So we will build those 1.5 million homes. That will only happen if we partner with business, if we get rid of some of the planning rules that are in the way.
Partner with business. Look, literally, the government can't do anything without business. It's all about the business.
a set of arrangements with mayors and combined authorities to get that building done. Because
Sir Keir,
otherwise, you simply will be in the same position.
I'm going to have to interrupt. Sir Keir, thank you so much for joining us in Grimsby tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Shit.
Thank you.
Garbage.
Absolute rubbish, yeah.
And again, someone in my chat literally saying, my rent went up from £900 to £1,200 a couple of months ago. It isn't sustainable. Yeah, you build more houses. Yeah, people can't afford deposits. They can't afford to get out of renting. That's the big problem.
Yeah. I presume they're going to an ad break now, which means we can skip forward.
Yeah.
Because fuck that. No offence, Paris, but I'm not interested, mate. Until the Olympics start, I don't give a fuck. Or indeed until the fascists take over, maybe. One of the two. Maybe they can light the torch with some sort of cross on fire. I don't know.
Also, there's a great tweet here from Flying Rodent saying, I didn't watch the debate, but it doesn't sound like the reasonable, sensible, moderate, big brain candidates were particularly better or more edifying than history's greatest monsters were 5 years ago.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, here we go.
Battle for number 10, live from Grimsby Town Hall. We've heard from the Labour leader. Now it's the Prime Minister's turn.
Well, you know, they're both both of the people presenting this are ladies. That's woke. That's modern day California shit right there.
Prime Minister, thank you so much for joining us tonight in Grimsby.
Good evening, Beth. Thanks for having me.
PM, polling day is 3 weeks tomorrow, but it's rough, isn't it? A poll out this week put the Conservatives on 18 points, just about neck and neck with Nigel Farage's reform. And your polling is now worse than in the dying days of the Liz Truss government. What's going so wrong?
Well, I've got to say, Beth, it hasn't been an easy 18 months in general. So what I've done, though, is just keep going to try and do my best for people. And that's what I'm doing in this campaign. I'm excited to have the opportunity to talk to everyone, not just tonight, but across the campaign, out and about in the country, about our plans for the future, because I know we've been through a tough time. Of course we have, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. It's been tough for all of you here tonight, everyone watching. But I do believe we've turned a corner, and we've got a clear plan for the future to make a difference to people, to cut their taxes, to bring down immigration, to protect pensions. Those are all things that I think matter. I think there's
Not very tough for his family, though, because I don't know if you saw this week, but his wife is now richer than the king.
Oh, she is indeed.
Yeah, she just overtook him on the top British 50 earners or whatever it is, or combined wealth. Yeah, so, you know, the Prime Minister's wife literally richer than the King of England. But, you know, it's been tough for everyone. Yeah.
things that people want, and so I'm going to keep fighting hard till the last day of this election.
PM, Liz Truss never recovered from that disastrous mini-budget. Do you worry that your fateful decision to...
True, but she was up against a lettuce, whereas he's not even up against a vegetable. So, you know...
skip part of those D-Day commemorations could prove as terminal for you?
Well, the last thing that I wanted to do was cause anyone, and particularly our veterans community, any hurt or upset. It was a mistake.
Is that why you said it overran and you apologised? You didn't apologise to the guy. You apologised to the ITV people. Not the veterans, not the world leaders you stood up, not the world, for the country for making you look crap. No, you apologised to the guy who was interviewing you on the TV.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't get out early enough of this sombre moment of remembrance, given that it's the last time we're ever going to have a decade anniversary with these people still alive.
Exactly. And you know what? I shook some of their hands and they were wrinkly and they smelled weird. I couldn't wait to leave. Sorry! Anyway, let's have a nice chinwag where I pretend to be a human.
And that's why I apologised unreservedly for that, and I'm deeply sad to have caused people hurt and upset by that. I was privileged to participate in all the commemoration events that I did, to speak to many veterans.
Not the one you didn't attend.
Were you?
No, you didn't seem very privileged
really?
at all, mate. You seemed very happy not to take part in that one, considering you told the French government you weren't going to be there a week earlier. Oh, God, he's full of shit.
And so thank them in person for what they did, but also make sure that I can demonstrate to them how committed I am to making this the best country in the world to be a veteran through all the things that we are doing in government.
And when you realised the mistake and you apologised, how were you feeling? Did you feel really awful? How was it?
This is just ridiculous. What the fuck is happening now? Did you feel like a massive prick? Because you look like a massive prick. Did you feel really terrible? Did you cry, Prime Minister? Did you cry?
What's quite funny? It's actually fine that I think that she's being kind of too soft on him.
Yeah,
and I think I know why. Yeah. Is that I genuinely think that the press are at the point where they go like, well, we've destroyed them now. We kind of feel sorry for him. So let's just treat him like a crying child that we're going to, there. I know your party's dying, but, you know, it's going to be okay. How does that make you feel? How does it make you feel, Rishi? Do you want to...
Yeah, do you want a binky? Do you want a binky and a
Do you want a binky?
Yeah.
I'll tuck you in, make you nice and tight.
Should we put on Dora the Explorer? That's your favourite.
For you.
Yeah, I was incredibly sad to have caused people hurt and upset. That was actually the last thing that I wanted to do. And as I said,
it's been over a week and he's still having to talk about it. It's just never going to leave him alone, is it? And neither should it. It's so silly. Oh, God. And it does call into question his decision-making. When you get something that obviously wrong, what else is he messing up? You know?
I hope people can find it in their hearts to forgive me. When I realised I made a mistake, I apologised. I've asked for forgiveness. And also, I have been speaking to veterans about the things that we are doing to make sure this is a good country for them after they've served, because we owe them an enormous debt of gratitude, and that's why I've made sure it's a priority to have a minister around the cabinet table to support them and focus on the things that matter to them.
Okay.
Would that be the guy who, when you appointed him into that position, then spent Veterans Day in... it was Veterans Day, wasn't it? Filming the pilot for a TV show instead of doing his fucking job? That guy who's really committed to Veterans Affairs, that guy. Yeah? Intriguing. Can't wait for him to lose his seat as well.
Absolutely.
Prime Minister, let's go on to the Tory record. You say that you're the one who can deliver stability after all the turmoil, but for many voters, the Conservatives are the turmoil. In this Parliament, we've had 3 Prime Ministers, 5 Chancellors, 5 Home Secretaries, 6 Health Secretaries. How do we know?
He's dead inside. Look at him. Look into those eyes. She's just beating the lifeless meat husk that is Rishi Sunak.
And his political, but actually the Conservative Party, like the future of the Conservative Party being destroyed forever.
Yeah, he's already dead. You're flogging a tiny dead horse. You've a little Shetland pony.
Actually, interestingly, like. Emmanuel in chat saying, a voter in Corbyn's constituency when canvassing mentioned Sunak's blunder while they were out with Corbyn, and then told Corbyn personally how grateful he was for attending a previous remembrance event. But did he bow low enough though? Did you get the protractor out?
He didn't bow enough, and that's terrible. Whereas this guy just not turning up, just pissing off home, you know, as you do. Jesus Christ. Honest to God, I feel sorry for Michael Foot as well, because he turned up in what was quote unquote a donkey jacket, even though the Queen actually,
it was fine.
The Queen literally remarked on it and said he looked really nice. So that I mean that counted for nothing apparently, but that was disrespectful. That was terrible. They mercilessly went after him for that, but this dickhead just spat in the face of D-Day veterans. Fucking hell. And he keeps making it worse.
If you won the general election, you'd still be Prime Minister in a year's time.
Oh, mate. She's roasting him. This isn't even questioning. This is just... She's
roasting.
She's just bouncing him. Absolutely just dick flicking him at this point. Jesus Christ.
Look, I can appreciate people's frustrations. Of course, we haven't got everything right. I don't think any government does, and I know it's been very difficult for many people.
Neither of them are going to answer
a question. But what I can do
is
is work as hard as I can to deliver the stability that I said I would. And I've had this job for 18 months, and I think particularly on the economy, as I'm sure we'll get into, people can see that inflation is back to normal, the economy's growing, wages are rising, and that...
Yeah, but she asked you about your party kicking you out, mate. because they want to get rid of you. Even after you called the election, they were still trying to kick you out.
Mm.
But no, he's going to talk about the economy or something.
That's why we're having this election now, to talk about the future. And yes, I've got a track record over the past 18 months, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But also, I want to build on that and continue the progress we've made, whether it's cutting people's taxes, bringing down migration,
I'd like to come on to that, Prime Minister.
or indeed protecting people's pensions. These are all things that now we're in a position to make more progress
I'd like to come on to that, but many people do view Liz Truss's brief period in office as the symbol of that Tory chaos. Has her legacy cast a long shadow for you?
Well, I think if people are thinking about that,
Well,
they can think about what I did.
Is that he had this period where he was only like 10 or so, less than 10 points behind in the polls when he immediately became Prime Minister. The polls really tightened after he became Prime Minister and Liz Truss was out and people thought, well, the Truss period is over.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, is there going to be a honeymoon period for Rishi Sunak? No. The polls have widened basically the entirety of the time from then until now and haven't tightened whatsoever. They've just widened and widened and widened. And the electoral period has widened that even further. The idea that this is a Liz Truss problem, it's not true.
Nope.
This man is repellent to the electorate. And of course, that's because they didn't see him until he became Prime Minister. And the more they saw of him, the more they hated him.
Yep.
You and I spent some time that summer. You interviewed me. I did an event like this at the time because I disagreed with her economic policies. And actually, it wasn't easy for people to hear what I had to say, but I believed very deeply then in what I was saying. And I went around the country then talking about it, doing events like this. We did one similarly together as well, and you interviewed me. And that's who I am as a person, even though that wasn't an easy thing, even though back then, actually, it was difficult for me and I was behind. I was talking about what I believe was right for our country, and that's who I am as a person. And I was...
He can't really come out and say she's a bag of shit either, because then they can just say, well, you lost to her.
And a lettuce.
And a lettuce, which, I mean, to be fair, there's no shame in that, okay? The only shame is backing down to the lettuce. But if you fight and lose, no shame in that. Liz Truss, on the other hand, garbage.
And I was right about that, and that's why people can trust me now when it comes to what I say about the economy today.
Well, look, let's get on to your pledges. Let's get on to you now. In January 2023, you made the British people 5 promises. You said, no tricks, no ambiguity. We're either delivering for you or we're not. So I ask you to judge us on the effort we put in and the results we achieve. 5 promises. Let's talk about the promises. Promises 1 and 2, halving inflation, growing the economy. You've done that.
Well, the most important priority was the first one, because when I got this job, inflation was at 11%. And I think everyone knows the last few years have been difficult.
The most
and
important
the impact that was having on all your bills.
is the one that I knew was going to be solved without any input from myself, so I could make the pledge without caring, which is the one I want everybody to focus on. Was all of the ones that are literally my fault. Please ignore those.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a track record. But don't look at it. Just look at this one thing that I had nothing really to do with at all.
Every week, you were seeing the impact in your shop, and that's why my priority was to bring down inflation, so to ease that burden. And it wasn't a given, and it was 11%. Now it's back to normal, ahead of our competitors, which is the result of a lot of hard work.
So let's just go through the pledges, because...
Yes, inflation is, of course.
Oh, God.
Or is he going to have a fight with the audience after having a fight with Nick Robinson?
Robot Boy will not enjoy the heckling, I don't think.
I know things are not easy. Of course I know that. They've been difficult for a while for all sorts of reasons. But what I was absolutely set about doing was making things that little bit easier.
Well, look,
that's why inflation was a priority. And it was precisely because the bills were continuing to go up that we needed to bring inflation down, and I'm pleased that we're able to do that.
Halving inflation, economy growing, tick, tick. Promise number 3, reducing national debt. It's gone up since you made the pledge, hasn't it? It has.
Yes, but it was always meant to come down over time. And that was always the time. I know, what was...
Oh, mate. Every time.
Was it when you made the pledge?
But we measure our debt according to an independent body measures our debt.
But it's higher now than it was when you made the pledge, right?
It's high. It was always forecast to be high. Let me be clear, Beth. I was never saying it would come down overnight. I was very clear at the time.
You made the pledge in January 2023.
And I want to start. And when I made the pledge...
And you're going into an election. I'm just making the point that you failed on that pledge as you
go.
go
All at the end of the year.
When I made
he
the
said,
pledge,
judge me by the end of the year. They were supposed to be by the end of the year, I'll have done this. And he hasn't. He's failed on 3 of them. In fact, we went into recession in Q4 2023. So technically, by the end of year metric, he's failed on 4 of them.
Clear that we measure our debt reduction according to an independent body.
No tricks, no ambiguity.
No tricks, no ambiguity. None at all. Right? We have an independent...
Oh, mate. Oh, God.
I didn't think anything could get more embarrassing than the Starmer one, but this is really fucking grim.
Fucking painful. This man's still technically the Prime Minister. And I just getting clowned on. Oh, fucking hell.
I'm happy... I'm happy to explain. So we measure our debt reduction independently. It's actually not me.
It would be so funny if he got so angry he stormed off.
Done a Piers Morgan.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because he's so short, it would take ages for him to get off the stage. It'd be like 20 steps at least.
That does it. It's an independent body called the OBR. We set out the fiscal rules to bring debt down over 5 years, and that's how they measure it. And they have confirmed to every budget, and you can go and look at it online, that we are meeting those fiscal rules. And when I made the announcement, I think you were there at the press conference when I did, I actually was asked the question, and I explained then, they said, how are you measuring this? And I said, we're measuring it according to the independent body which will adjudicate our rules. And we've met all those rules, because that's really important to me.
Let's crack on.
But no, just
Cutting NHS waiting list, that's pledge 4. When you made the promise, the list was at 7.21 million. It's now at 7.54 million cases. It's gone up.
Yes, it has. Yes, I'm very good. We've not made as much progress.
So you failed.
You've made no progress.
Yeah,
you've made opposite progress. You've gone back. You've been degress.
Exactly. Yeah. Just literally, you've made things worse.
Yeah. I mean, wait until he mentions the strikes.
I'm not short bashing. I'm just making fun of that one person. Because they like to do the power stance shit. And if you're going to start doing all of that, you shouldn't be 3 foot tall, is all I'm saying. You know? The short kings, queens and queens out there, love you.
On cutting waiting lists as I would have liked. And that was something that I was keen to do. And it has proved more difficult, and it's been proved more difficult for a number of reasons. Obviously, recovering from the pandemic is not easy. But we are now making...
We were... Mate. The vast problems with the pandemic were already finished by the time you became Prime Minister.
And on top of that,
you don't get to use that as well now. That's ridiculous, mate.
Yeah, because again, all the waiting lists were going up under Osborne, under Hammond, under him as Chancellor. Like, there's been a continual problem. Although maybe he'll break glass in case of NHS criticism and mention about his family being in the NHS.
Yeah.
Cue laughter.
Indeed.
Making progress. And actually, the number that you gave is just over 200,000 lower than it was a few months ago, because now...
It's gone up from when you made the pledge.
Yes, it has. It has. Yeah. I'm being very clear about...
Oh, mate. It's just a roast. Look at her. Smiling her tits.
She's very happy.
Go for her. The first time she's been let off the leash, she can actually do her journalism. Loving it.
That, but now it's coming down.
Okay.
Because we are now, the plans are working.
Made the pledge
We've
in
resolved
January
the industrial action.
And they're going up. Okay, let's go to the 5th pledge.
Well, I think you had a question earlier from, I think there was a junior doctor here, and I think everyone knows the impact the industrial action has had. That's why we haven't made as much...
Go on, fist fight him. Go on. Dive into the crowd and absolutely just start wailing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I'd respect that
man
way
in the
more.
crowd specifically is the reason why I failed everything.
Exactly. And
blame him.
What? I'm going to call him a little bitch, and I'm going to take my shirt off now. Let's have some, mate. Come on. Do you know what I mean? I'd respect that. That would take some balls.
The doctor's fault.
He's now getting heckled like it's a comedy bit.
This is so bad.
Just shout rubbish. Don't call out the doctor dude in the audience and then start bitching about them. Because that's just you attacking doctors, mate.
He's so petulant.
People like doctors. They don't like you.
Yeah, exactly. The most trusted profession in the country.
Anyway, so there's some wanker in the audience, anyway, and he was talking shit. And he's the reason that everything's rubbish. Vote for me. What?
The time for... But look, let's not dwell on this, but PM, the point is... that when you made the pledge, there were several...
Okay, someone find that man and buy him a beer, please.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Several NHS industrial disputes happening at the time. Ambulance workers were on strikes, nurses had announced strikes, junior doctors were balloting, and you still made the pledge, and the numbers are up. Let's move on.
But having resolved all of them...
Jesus Christ. Sorry to pause every 5 seconds, but you really do have to just savour how much of an absolute beasting and feasting this is. She is chewing on this man's lifeless carcass.
Industrial action, except the junior doctors. What you're now seeing is that the numbers are coming down.
Junior doctors.
Literally, it's like a comedy gig. It's getting shouted at.
7.2, 1 million, 7.5, it's going up. Let's move on.
Oh my God, this is beautiful.
She's the one getting the round of applause for just stating facts. Honestly, I think he might cry. I think he might get so angry he starts crying.
Let's move on here. Oh. Your fifth promise was stopping the small boats. Boat crossings are going up, aren't they?
Yes, they were down last year by a third. They're down over the last 12 months by a little less than that. This year, what we've seen is one particular country, Vietnam.
Remember though, chat. That's a really good point raised by Ben in chat. Really good point raised by Ben. Do you remember that this guy's supposed to be the elder in the room? Very reassuring and impressive, according to Mr. Ian Dunt, by the way.
Yeah.
How long did that last?
Amazing.
Superman, according to the BBC.
Exactly. They made him up to be Superman. And he's just like, everything's just like, oh, so you promised this thing. The opposite happened, didn't it? Why are you such a twat? Like,
he's got a petulant it's got a petulant child getting mad at the idea that he might have done something wrong.
Yeah.
How dare you assume that I put my hand in the cookie jar?
Exactly. I didn't eat any of that chocolate.
Chocolate ran my mouth. How dare you say such a thing?
Of the increase. But actually, the plans that we've put in place last year show that it is possible to make a difference to this problem, which, by the way, before I got this job, everybody said was impossible. Everybody said it was impossible to get...
Well, you know what? We didn't. The haters said it couldn't be done, and you know what? The haters were correct. Fair play. Good call from the haters.
Excellent call by the haters.
Yeah, no, bang on.
The numbers down at all, but we showed last year that was possible, and now we have a clear plan to put a deterrent in place.
The numbers are going up.
And I will come on to it, but look, crossings have risen by 40% this year against last year to 11,247 people crossing on small boats this year. It's going to be a record year. You have failed to deliver on this
remember
pledge.
as well, remember on top of this, like, we were told that 2019 was the worst choice this country's ever had in terms of prime minister, and that nobody had any choice. That it was impossible. And at that point, you know, a plurality of people in this country felt that at least one of the major parties spoke for them. Yeah. Now we have the grown-up adults in the room who can't answer questions, who shout at the audience, who act like robots and think that they are better than answering the questions that they've been asked. Yeah. And these are the adults in the room, and we're now back to normal, sensible grown-up politics. And the percentage of people who think that one of the main parties represents them, 22%.
Yeah, exactly. Aside all that student politics where people felt represented by their political representatives, no, that's crazy. Anyway, so back to this dickhead getting absolutely rinsed.
Please acknowledge it.
No, if you look at the sum total of the time that I've been Prime Minister, because you've picked one particular period, if you look at the sum total of the
period from when you played the pledge until fucking now.
Yeah. Exactly, It's so frustrating. If you choose this other completely arbitrary thing, no, not from the time I said I was going to do something till now. It's from this point until the end of time. Actually, look, come on, dude, you bollocksed it up. You know you completely fucked it up. And she just said, just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it. No, Mummy said I'm a good boy.
Down.
The numbers were down on last year. The numbers. In 2023, we're down on 2022.
It's because of the work that we've done.
It's a record year this year. They've gone up by 40%.
But if you look at because these things are cyclical. Because what you've seen is one new country, Vietnam, accounting for a lot of the new arrivals.
All right.
And just as we dealt with Albania,
let's go back to bases. You said you were stopping small boats. Boat crossings are going up this year. Let's talk about Rwanda. You acknowledge that, don't you? OK, let's move on.
At least he acknowledges it, unlike Keith.
Jesus Christ. Honestly, this is pathetic. This is so shit.
You will get the flights off the ground in July. You promise that?
Yes.
Flights off the ground, no if, no buts. How many flights and how many people are you going to send over the summer?
What we've done is...
The number is 0. Oh, God, this is fucking amazing.
Already started detaining people. Airfield's on standby, planes are booked. The date for the first flight is out.
What's the name of the airline?
24th, I think it is, of July.
If the planes are booked, Rishi, what's the name of the airline?
Airline Corp. Look, they go to a different school, OK? You don't even know them.
We haven't given more details beyond that to not compromise the operational security, but there will be a regular rhythm of flights, not just one. And the important point here is this is about establishing a deterrent, because I believe that if people come here illegally, they shouldn't be able to stay. We need to have somewhere safe to remove them, and that's how we will stop the boats. And that's what Rwanda is about.
Don't applaud it.
Can I just ask you one thing? If you were so confident about getting these flights off in July, that this was the apex, really, of stopping the boats, why did you call an election before voters could actually see it was happening? Because...
You notice one of those rounds of applause was a little bigger than the other. Just a smidge. Just saying.
Because an election is an important moment for our country, and my priority when I got this job was to restore economic stability. And we talked about bringing inflation down and getting the economy growing.
Yeah, true. Everything's really stable. I'm stable in not being able to afford any of my bills.
With that economic foundation established.
But this is...
I couldn't afford my bills before, and I still can't afford them now. That's stability, right? That's stable. It's miserable, but it's stable. Things haven't changed.
Technically, a corpse at the bottom of the sea is stable. Yeah. Very much
The Titanic wreckage is stable.
Exactly. That
unlike the fuselage of the Titan submersible.
Well, that is true. Although in many respects, that's reached the same sort of level. I think
True.
a lot of that's at the same level now. So
it was where the Tory campaign is at.
In many respects, the Titanic has seen record inflation. Not since 1912 has so much wreckage been dumped there.
It's the right moment to have an election to then discuss the future of our country. And this election is about the future. And you're right, on migration, there is a choice at this election. And elections have consequences. I've got a plan about what I want to do.
And I'm going to come on to that.
Keir Starmer doesn't agree with that plan.
OK, let's come on to that.
Can't tell you what he would do with illegal migrants. And that's a choice for everyone here and everyone watching. If you want to stop the boats, there's a choice of how you think that needs to be dealt with, and I'm the one that's got an answer for you.
And I would like to talk to you about a bigger issue that people are concerned about, which is legal migration. For many years, people were frustrated that immigration kept going up. It was the #1 reason for voters in the run-up to the EU referendum, one of the main reasons for Brexit. That's right, isn't it?
Immigration is too high.
No, one of the reasons people voted for Brexit was to take back control of our borders, right? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
OK. Yes. OK. Well, let's just go and look at the record.
Very heavy Brexit area, it is, yeah.
Yeah, and also she's setting that up for, well, why have 1 million squillion people come in under your watch, knobhead? It's basically the thing she's setting up here. And he must know that, right?
Because what was the total net migration figure into the UK in the past 3 years?
You'll have it there, so...
But the audience, do you want me to tell them? Because they won't know.
I don't have the number at the top of my head for the past 3 years.
It's 1.9 million people in the last...
Jesus Christ. That is a lot of people, man. Fuck.
3 years. What was the total net migration figure in the last 3 years running up to the 2016 referendum when we had freedom of movement? Do you know it?
I don't have it offhand.
It was 836,000 people.
So, like, what, eight times as many? Something like that? Oh, mate. She's just mathematics dunked on you.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure many people in this room would have voted for Brexit. 70% of people in Grimsby voted for Brexit. How do you think they feel about that when they hear that net
Well, I mean, look, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but we've said this before. If you were actually a person who cares about migration that much, you would never vote for this man or his party.
You shouldn't, and you shouldn't. You absolutely shouldn't. The thing is that this was the main thing that caused a lot of migration is a rule change made by Boris Johnson before the election happened, which I find quite funny. So Sunak's having to pay for everybody else's failures on this one.
True, but I mean, look, he was Chancellor before that. Like, he doesn't get to completely.
It was in cabinet meetings, yeah.
Exactly. Like, he stood by all of this shit. He was fine with it. Like, honest to God, he's just. Oh. If he weren't such a ghoul, I'd almost feel bad for him. You know?
Yeah, that's how I feel. I'm just like, I get like slightest twinge of like feeling sorry for him, and then I realised he's a massive wanker. Like, no, this is very funny actually.
That's how that's how I realised that we're better than him. We're actual human beings who can feel empathy, even for bad people.
True.
Whereas I don't think he feels empathy for anyone at all. I don't think they have empathy on his planet.
Migration into this country has more than doubled in the last 3 years from before we left the European Union.
Yeah, I'm sure people... It's too high. I've been very clear that it's too high, and I'm sure people...
Yeah, and you did that. You did that. The Tony Blair mass migration years were a fraction of what you've done. Jesus Christ.
People feel frustrated and angry about it.
You were the original Brexiteer, weren't you? Well, you were one of the...
yes, I did support
Brexit.
Well, on that point, did you see one of the candidates, the Tory candidates from one of the seats in Leeds, I think it was, who not only didn't have Rishi on her leaflets that she was handing out, but had Nigel Farage.
And she did it in light blue as well.
Yeah.
She did it in like cyan, which is the campaign colour of Reform UK.
Yeah. I think a lot
Andrew
of
Jenkins,
Tories,
that was.
if we were to be much more strict with the way in which we interpret the rules around mimicking other political parties and trying to, copy their thing, to try and confuse the voters, I think we'd find a lot of Tory candidates around the country who would be guilty of
Oh, she has been reported to the Electoral Commission over, I believe.
Yeah.
Tia.
Yes, and I believe that was the right decision for our country.
Frustrated, cynical,
absolutely.
betrayed?
I just said I'm sure people feel frustrated about that. And again, the numbers are too high. Of course they're too high. What I can tell you is what I've done since I've had this job, and that's
which is massively increased them. That's what you've done, actually.
Last year. Yes, and the numbers are too high. I'm not making any bones about that. The numbers are too high, Beth. But what I can tell you is, what I've done in the time I've had this job is already start to bring them down because we've taken action to change things. So last year, the numbers were down by 10% already. And this year, the number of visas that we've issued is down by around a quarter. And the forecasts show that we're on track.
But aren't a lot of those student visas and therefore actually financially just hurts the country?
Yes.
From people who
exactly
largely wouldn't stay long-term anyway.
And would otherwise bring loads of foreign capitals to the country.
Exactly, yeah.
Another ones are like people who work in our care service that's massively short of staff.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for hurting the country in order to get an arbitrary figure, Rishi. Brilliant.
To halve net migration in just over a year's time. So that shows and hopefully gives people some confidence we're now heading in the right direction.
But that would just be back to where it was before Brexit. So that wouldn't even be an improvement on the thing that people were pissed off about.
Yeah, quite.
Oh my God, he's rubbish.
To give you an example of some of the things we've done, we've clamped down on abuse of the social care visa, tightened up the number of dependents that students can bring, and also raised the salary so that you have to earn £38,500 to come here on a work visa.
Okay.
Now, these measures are now starting to have an impact. You've seen that this year, as I said, numbers down by a quarter, forecast to fall by a half overall for net migration.
So you're going to...
I can't wait to see what the audience is going to do to him. They might eat him. They might actually eat him. I'm not sure.
That pledge now, what's your promise to drive net migration down?
Yeah, well, what we've said we'll do is have actually a migration cap that's voted on in Parliament, so all your members of Parliament will vote every year on the number of migrants that will come. Well, that's, I said, the forecast at the moment is the numbers to halve, and then what we want to do is continue reducing it every year thereafter. But the key thing is here is there will be, for the first time, a legal cap on all migration so that we can guarantee that the numbers do continue to come down.
David Cameron 2010, tens of thousands, reduced net migration. May 2017, Theresa May reduced net migration to tens of thousands. Boris Johnson, 2019, committed to making sure overall numbers come down below the then net migration figure of just over 250,000 people. Why should anyone believe anything that you say on immigration?
Or on anything? Why should everyone, literally anything you say ever?
Yeah.
Why should anyone believe a word that comes out of your fucking mouth, Rishi?
True.
And I can completely understand people's cynicism about this, but what you can add to the end of that list, since I've been in charge, numbers down 10% and visas issued this year down by a quarter.
Okay.
Right, so that's I've had this job for 18 months.
Okay.
Numbers were down last year. They're down considerably at the start of this year, and they will keep coming down because of the measures that I've already announced.
1.9 million people in the last 3 years. Okay. But it's, you know, that's the record. Let's go on to tax.
This has been a really nice dissection of a corpse.
It has been, yeah.
You say
Real
that
fatality.
you will cut taxes. I was at your manifesto launch yesterday. Our economics editor, Ed Conway, calculates that the tax burden on the country will be higher than it is now under a future Conservative government, even taking into account your proposed tax cuts. That's right, isn't it?
No, I haven't seen that analysis, and I'm not sure that is right. What we announced yesterday,
Is Ed wrong?
I haven't seen his analysis, so I can't comment on it because I haven't seen it. But what I can tell you is what our manifesto announced is, you know, tax cuts for people at every stage of their life, for people in work, for people who are setting up small businesses and self-employed, for those young people who want to buy their first home, for pensioners and for families. So tax cuts for people at every stage of their lives, because I believe people should keep more of their hard-earned money. That's how you build financial security. And again, that's a choice for people at this election. I believe in cutting people's taxes, now that we're in a position to do so, having restored economic stability.
Can I just have a moment of honesty about this, though? Because today, taxes as a proportion of national income are at 36.5%. They will be at 36.7% of national income by the end of the coming Parliament with all your changes. So I know that you have introduced tax cut, but overall, taxes will still be going up, won't they, under a Conservative government?
Well, the tax burden is too high, and that is a reflection of the decision.
Is it going up in the next Parliament? It will go up.
Taxes for people will continue to come down. That's the manifesto that we've announced. I haven't seen Ed's analysis. It's very hard for me to comment on it there. But what I can tell you is...
Jesus Christ, mate.
The audience ripping into him as well. It's really funny.
Tragic.
It's really tragic.
The tax cuts that we've announced reduce the tax burden by about 1 percentage point of GDP a year compared to the spring budget last year.
So
again, I haven't seen his numbers. I can tell you my numbers,
but I can give you... So hang on, just to be clear. You're saying that taxes as a proportion of national income will come down at the end of the next Parliament under a Conservative government?
The tax cuts that we announced yesterday...
It's just a yes or no.
But I don't have a forecast for the economy of 5 years.
She's so sick of it.
She's
so sick of it.
Watching him squirm.
Look at that face. Look at that face, yeah.
Just beautiful.
Stamp duty for first-time buyers, abolished. National insurance for self-employed, abolished. Further cuts for national insurance, the triple lock plus to cut taxes for pensioners. No, but these are the practical tax cuts that will be delivered, and they'll impact everyone else.
You're not cutting tax for pensioners. You're changing the tax rules because you're taxing people so much the pensioners might pay the first time they've ever paid tax ever. They've always been eligible for it, but always fallen under the threshold. But because you've frozen the thresholds, that's a political choice you made. You are taxing pensioners, and now you're going to say, "Oh, actually, we're not going to do it anymore." That's not you giving them anything. That's just you not taxing them like you said that you would.
But the choice at this election is clear, because I want to keep cutting people's taxes. And look, you did mention the tax burden. Actually, I can have a second to address that. Of course it's high, but that's because I had to take decisions that were difficult as Chancellor after providing the support that we did during the pandemic for the NHS, for furlough, but also for energy.
Also, while your wife was non-domiciled and not paying tax.
True.
Not very difficult, those tax decisions, when your wife isn't paying, eh, mate?
Yeah.
You know, the woman who's now richer than the fucking King of England. Okay.
energy bills, and the reasonable thing to do, the right thing to do for the country is to make sure that we secure our future and pay that back, and that requires difficult decisions.
Isn't the truth that your problem is broken promises, and it's deeper than the last couple of years? It's Brexit too. It's migration. It's migration. The NHS was meant to get better. We were all remember 350.
He cannot fucking wait to go to California. He's so sick of this shit.
He's checked out already.
Yeah, no, he really is. He's just thinking, just look, get through 3 weeks. We can get on pina coladas on the beach. Let's fucking go.
£1 million on the side of a bus, don't we? It's levelling up. It's a catalogue of broken promises. You must surely see why so many voters think it's time for you and the Conservatives to get your P45.
Well, I can absolutely.
It's like, fuck off, applause.
Yeah, hang on. I'm just gonna pause my answer to allow them to clap your point about me losing my job. Yeah, just gonna wait for that to play out.
Of course, I can understand people's frustrations. It's been a very difficult few years. We've been through 2 once-in-a-century shocks, which have had an enormous impact on everyone, on public services, on people's standard of living. Of course it has. When energy bills double, when inflation goes up to 11%, when a pandemic shuts down our economy, with all the impact on everyone's livelihoods, of course.
Ukraine? You're going to mention Ukraine? Ukraine? No? Okay.
And even then, like, these shocks, these exogenous shocks are things that you could have taken actions to prevent before now, but because of the Tory failure on the economy, on both energy and on healthcare, we were underprepared, and now the country's fucked. Like, you may not have been the person that did that, but your party did, and you're a representative for your party, and so you've got to deal with the consequences.
Yeah. I wonder if he's not mentioning Ukraine because he doesn't want people to be like, oh yeah, you know that Zelensky that you didn't shake hands with on the beach because you weren't fucking there. Do you remember that? Because Keir Starmer did that. The best free publicity you money couldn't buy. You fool.
Its toll. But this election now is about the future, and I do believe that we've turned a corner. And when I appreciate that people want to see positive change. And my only point would be that you don't get any change unless you've got a plan and you're prepared to do bold things, and that's what our manifesto sets out.
Let me just ask you. We'll come to you in a moment. I've got running out of time. Now, I just want to ask you one more thing. You were once popular. You were dishy Rishi. Do you remember? Can you tell our audience something about you that might make them like you a bit more again?
No. There is nothing likeable or redeemable about him. I've answered the question. Also, amazing frame. Love it.
Well, actually, funnily enough, people seem to think I have a very kind of healthy lifestyle and I go to the gym and this is an obsession about my fasting. But I actually have an appalling diet because I eat an enormous amount of sugar and I'm very unhealthy in that regard, which I was talking to someone today about. They were completely shocked. I'm not sure that's not really something that someone needs to like me more or less, but that's something I was talking to someone today and they're genuinely surprised about the amount of Haribos, Twixes and everything else that I get through, particularly...
Oh, God. He eats Haribos. I wish
so does Wes Streeting, Kev. I hate to burst your bubble, but if you eat Haribo, you share a favourite sweet with both Rishi Sunak and Wes Streeting.
I wish I didn't know that, because now I do feel sorry for him. Now it's like beating up a child. You know? And him and Wes Streeting both share in common the fact that they're dickheads, you know? There's that as well.
During a campaign. So contrary to popular belief, I don't have that healthier lifestyle or diet.
Okay, a sugar fiend. Prime Minister, thank you so much for the interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We did say he was a coke addict before, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh God, these questions will be so
just heard
fucking
there
funny.
what the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, had to say to our political editor, Beth Rigby.
Is that me in the background? Why am I a security guard? What?
He told her many things. He said he was deeply sad to have caused hurt and upset when he left those D-Day commemorations early. Rishi Sunak also admitting tonight he hasn't made as much progress in cutting NHS waiting lists as he would have liked, suggesting strike action was to blame.
I hope that the doctor
Mr. Sunak conceded immigration to the UK is too high, and he understands why people are frustrated and angry. Well, now it's our audience turn to put the Prime Minister under the spotlight. And just to remind you, we're joined tonight by voters from across the political spectrum, independently chosen from here in Grimsby and right around the UK. Beth, it's over to you.
Thank you, SJ. Well, our first question from the audience comes from Ian. He's a retired teacher from Grimsby. There he is.
Good evening.
Hi, Ian.
Following Liz Truss's disastrous mini-budget with its unfunded tax cuts, mortgages have become much less affordable, particularly for young people, such as my daughter. Why has your government spoilt their hopes and dreams? And how do you know you won't do it again?
Oh, well, Ian, not just why have you balls of, why have you killed their hopes and dreams? Oh, mate, he's like a comic book villain now. Why have you purposely strangled?
Why do you crush children's dreams, Rishi?
Why did you stamp on that child's chocolate bar? Why did you spit in their face, Rishi? You're a monster.
Why did you kick over the sandcastle?
Exactly. Jesus.
How old?
This is fucking brutal.
How old's your daughter?
She's 19.
And did you say she has a mortgage or she's looking to buy a home?
She was kind of hoping to buy a...
Why? What?
What's a 19-year-old affording a home in this economy?
I know.
Or even close.
But I like the fact he's now just getting quite chatty with him. Like, is this just a conversation now? You're not going to give us a policy or anything?
Yeah, I just went for a coffee with Mr. Dream Killer.
Exactly. The Dream Smasher.
home until you put the mortgage rates up and you fail to meet your housing targets, and she's struggling to find a property that she can afford.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
I want everyone to
if
be
she
able
can
to
get
own their
anywhere
home.
close
It's a
to
really
19, she's probably in like the top echelons of young people in this country.
The 29-year-olds can't afford it, let alone 19.
50-year-olds can't afford mortgages.
Yeah, true.
You can, whether your daughter and everyone else. And the best way for us to do that is to get interest rates down again in the first instance, and that's why I made a priority to bring inflation down, because that's how we will enable the Bank of England to then start cutting interest rates. And as you can see, inflation is down from 11% back to normal, so hopefully we're on the right path then, and you will see that reflected in mortgage rates. But actually in our manifesto, there are a couple of things that will help your daughter, and hopefully you can tell her about them, or hopefully she's watching. One of them was stamp duty. So what I will do if we're re-elected is to abolish stamp duty for first-time buyers, like your daughter, buying homes up to £425,000. And
to be honest, Mr. Sunak, I don't think she was thinking of buying a house that expensive.
Nobody said up to. I think people understand, like, you know, any house up to that value gets now a stamp duty freeze, but that's still pittance. And also, like, that's an excise duty, so that will hit the landlord. That means the landlords can get more, or the property seller gets more money. The price will still be the same because the price is set by supply and demand, but the tax would be taking into what the money would be the money that would go to the person selling the property. It doesn't make the property cheaper.
Yeah.
It's up to, for everyone, up to that amount. So that's a tax cut that's worth thousands.
I don't mind him being slightly patronising there, because he did say up to.
He did indeed.
That's the one occasion where just I mean, listen to the bullshit at least.
No, actually, no. I'm sorry. I take back my previous statement. Actually, just need to keep subsidising demand. Just subsidise demand forever.
Yeah,
that's all we need to do.
The good thing about bubbles is that they never burst.
True.
So just keep inflating.
Famously, very strong structures, bubbles.
Yeah, exactly.
Highly
that
rigid.
She otherwise wouldn't need to
Strong
save
and
for.
stable.
And alongside
That's what we're
that,
after.
we will also reintroduce a new version of Help to Buy, which allows her to buy a home
Yes,
with just
subsidised
a 5%
demand, let's
deposit,
go.
Because when I talk to people like your daughter, what they say to me is, actually, I will be able to probably just about afford the mortgage, but what's tricky is the time it takes to save up for a deposit. And we saw with the previous version of Help to Buy that it makes a big difference, because it saves a young couple or a young person years in having to save up.
It's not true that people are being screwed over because they can't afford a deposit. It's true they also can't afford a deposit. That's a fact. But the idea that they can afford the mortgage that's also completely untrue. Unless you're on like a really high income, you cannot pass a mortgage approval for affordability. You can't do it because interest rates are so high that it's jacked up mortgage rates, and wages haven't increased properly because you've been engaging in market reforms that have meant we've had wage stagnation since 2010. That's the reason why, because houses are so expensive because you've not increased supply. Of course, they can't put together a deposit, but even if they did, outside of the upper middle class people who you want to throw bungs to, because that's your voter base for the Tory party, anybody below that line is never, ever, ever passing an affordability assessment on a mortgage. That's just straight up not true. Yeah. Of course, the deposit doesn't help, but a lot of people can get deposit money from their parents. Those are the people who are getting the money, but whatever, that's the world that we live in. But even those people who can get the money for the deposit are still failing affordability assessments because they don't earn enough money because wages are too low and house prices are too high.
True. Hello there, Zachap. Everyone go and follow Zachap immediately.
For that deposit, because the Help to Buy loan steps in to plug the gap and saves people an enormous amount of money. So Help to Buy, together with a stamp duty abolition for first-time buyers, essentially, will help young people like your daughter, because I believe in a society where everyone can own their home, and if we're elected, we can cut taxes and build the home, so that's possible.
OK. Our next question is from Hamza, who works in the NHS. He's from Hersham. Hamza, there you go.
Good evening, Prime Minister. As a proud member of staff in the NHS and a patient, I've seen firsthand the chronic effects of underfunding and staff shortages, especially post-Brexit. Recruitment and retention is very difficult, and staff are continuously burnt out with waiting lists seeming to never end. And I've personally experienced being left on a stretcher for 8 hours in my local A&E department while in pain, just in the corridor.
Have you thought about not being poor? Because if you were just rich, you could go private like Rishi does, you know? Be fine.
Going forward, how can you convince me that you'll restore our NHS to an institution that we can be proud of?
Yeah. Well, thanks, Hamza, first of all, for what you...
He's going to mention that his parents worked in the fucking NHS.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
As sure as eggs is eggs, he's definitely going to.
You do, and all your colleagues do in our incredible NHS, and I'm very sorry to hear about your experience. I think the first thing to say to you is I come from an NHS family.
There you go.
So, like you, like my parents, they worked in the NHS.
Hold it.
My dad was a GP, my mum was a pharmacist, and they did...
So that's the good thing with robots. You can play bingo with any of them. Because they've got like a dozen things that they're programmed to say, and that's all they're going to say.
But unfortunately, in this family vocation top trumps, unfortunately, pharmacist doesn't beat toolmaker, so you've lost.
Exactly, because he's also got mum worked in the NHS, so he's got NHS covered, and he's got toolmaker.
Exactly, so you've just kind of lost on that one, unfortunately, Rishi.
Yeah, Rishi, did you grow up in a Pebble Dash, Sammy? No, I don't think you did.
No, he didn't, and he went to Winchester Boys' School, but to be fair, that was without Sky TV.
Yeah, honestly.
Basically the same.
Can we have a whip round for him? Can we? I think we do need to, for the emotional distress of growing up without Sky TV at your private school. I mean, honestly, God bless him. What a trooper.
To helping people. And I was surrounded by that growing up. And actually what they instilled in me was an importance of how we can continue to help people. And I worked for my mum doing exactly that. So that's the first thing you need to know about me when it comes to the NHS. And that's why we've put record funding into it. But your point is the right one. What we have not done for not just years, but for decades, is train enough staff and then be reliant.
Going to bring back the nursing bursary that you got rid of then, or no? No? Okay.
Nope.
On having to bring people here from abroad. And in the NHS's 75-year history, it has never ever
saying
had a
that to a brown
long-term
guy.
Yeah,
exactly.
for the first time, it does.
We've had to bring in brown lads like your family. Jesus. No, I don't own a mirror. What?
Because I thought that was the right thing to prioritise. And we announced it together. It was the NHS's plan that the government has fully backed. And I said to them, look, this is the right thing to do because we need to train more doctors, nurses, dentists, physiotherapists, everything today, so that in years to come, the NHS will have the staff that it needs to ease some of the pressures, reduce reliance on staff from overseas, and make sure it's a fantastic career for everybody.
Can I just point out to Arizal in chat, can you not be a grief thief? I know you saying you shared the same sad struggle as Rishi did. Can you just stay in your lane? Can you not allow the man to have his grief in peace? Why have you got to try and jump on that? It's outrageous what some people will do. Jesus. If you want to help me afford Sky TV, that I definitely can't fucking afford, you can subscribe. Do bits messages, 200 bits or more gets you a text-to-speech. You can give subs to the community. You can do all of those things on Helena's channel and on YouTube as well. That's the thing
yeah.
you can
You
do.
can gift memberships.
Yeah.
And super chats.
God, I'm so good at this. Honestly, why didn't I get a job in sales? I'm so fucking good at this.
And look, candidly, we're the best one in the world. You know, I won't be here in the 14 years that it takes to train a consultant that we're paying for today. But I thought it was the right thing to do to strengthen our NHS for the long term, because people like you are brilliant. We want to make sure we train as many of you as possible so you have lots of colleagues, ease the burden and get everyone the care that they need. But just coming back on that, if you look post-Brexit, when we lost a huge majority of the staff that we had in our NHS, there wasn't a plan to fill those gaps and led to chronic shortages. Then we had the COVID pandemic that this country was not prepared for, and I worked through and saw the amount of people that were affected, burnt out. I had a close family member who was going through the COVID pandemic and now is living with long COVID and had to wait weeks to even get on a ventilator. And then the economy, under your leadership as Chancellor and under Boris Johnson, who you supported, we tried to get back as soon as possible, not thinking that this was still an ongoing pandemic. Boris was too late bringing in the lockdown rules. You were really quick to open up lockdown again, which led to another spike in COVID cases.
Yeah, Eat Out to Help Out literally killed loads of people. Well done, Rishi. Oh, I feel bad now. I had to go at aerosol, albeit comedically, and they gave me bits. Thank you. Oh, I feel terrible now. Honestly, I'm going to have to... When I get that money out of the bank, I'm going to wipe my tears with it. I promise I will.
And this is what has led to continuous, this is what has led to this long term of trying to rebuild the NHS. Now, you say that you're coming from an NHS background and you have this instilled value of caring for the NHS. How are we going to do that if you try and undermine it at every level?
With the greatest respect, that's not what we're doing. We're investing record sums into it.
With the greatest respect, you already have destroyed much of what it was. And you can want to continue to do that, and you're going to pass the buck over to Wes Streeting to fully privatise it.
Yeah, but Michelle Mone got her yacht, and that's what's important.
That is what's important, God bless her. National hero. Did you see that someone got arrested in her faulty PPE case thing?
They did indeed, yeah.
Notice it wasn't her that got arrested. Just someone connected to that.
We're training more doctors and nurses than we ever have, and there are more doctors and nurses in the NHS today than it's also had. But we also need to do things differently. And it's whether it's things, and you'll know this from, and what's your particular specialty?
So I'm a physiologist in cardiology.
And you're a cardiology, right? So you'll know that we're doing things like elective surgical hubs, virtual wards, community diagnostic centres, of which there's one right here in Grimsby. And those are all new innovations that you and your colleagues have pioneered, that we have supported, that will actually mean that people can get the care they need quicker and secure the NHS for the long term.
We're going to take from the hospitals to the hubs to staff them, because there's shortages of the staff already. We're short of radiographers, all the trades, all the different specialities throughout the hospitals. We're short of staff. So building another building that's going to move it from the hospital is not going to cure the problem. It's just going to make it worse.
It's almost like, okay, I mean, I don't know whether she clapped or not. She might well have done, she might not have done. I'm not going to say whether she did. But, you know, these people all clapped about the no immigration thing. Who do you think is going to staff those community diagnostic centres if, for example, they actually met the pay demands of the people to be able to solve the recruitment and retention crisis? Like, if they did all of those things, where are the people going to come from to do the staffing? Incredibly low unemployment, although it's slightly more than it used to be right now. And if we shut off all of the routes for people to immigrate here to be able to do those jobs, like, you guys clapped it. You guys clapped getting rid of all of the immigrants, right? And those are the people who now work in the NHS. What do you want?
Are you sure you can't have your cake and eat it? Because I think the people are suggesting via their clapping that they want their cake, but they also want to have eaten that cake, but still have the cake. Thank you, Dal, for resubscribe. 40 months with Prime, good lord. We're on a hype train, everybody. If we get to level 2 of the hype train, I will finger Rishi Sunak's will to live, because it had died a long time ago, clearly.
Thank you.
I just to answer that. Okay. So, man, we are recruiting and training more doctors, nurses than we ever have in our history, and there are more today. And I know we need more, and that's why we've made those investments. But
I'm going to wrap this.
But I will just pick
I've got so many questions.
But I think that's really important.
Yeah, be like a belligerent twat and talk over the woman again. That worked really well. that polled so well with you last time. The people really loved it, Rishi. Do it again. Yeah.
He's so bad at this.
Yeah, just talk over, yeah. The 50% of people who vote, called women, love that shit.
Expert.
Just very respectfully disagree with you, actually, based on the clinical advice that we have from all our leading medics, is that we can improve care for people by doing things outside of hospital. And the community...
No, dickhead. She's not saying you can't do that. She's saying if you just move the staff from the hospital to the new building, that just means you've got even less staff at the hospital already.
It's a staffing problem, yeah.
You can't play past the parcel with the same amount of staff, because you need more fucking staff, mate.
Diagnostic centre, one of which is here, is a great example of that, where you can get your checks and tests and scans quicker. Another example of that is pharmacies, right? Because I think that you should be able to go and see your pharmacist to get treatment rather than your GP for common ailments. That's a change that we've brought in that already millions of people are benefiting from. And
okay, but that just puts more stress on pharmacists. Who, like, you think pharmacists have got all this spare time to be fucking dealing with people? They're quite busy people, overstretched people as well. Again, they keep trying to look for, like, efficiency within the system. The system is overloaded. There's no efficiency. You've maxed it out. And then some.
Again, it's just an example of doing things differently to get people the care that they need.
Look at all these questions. I'm under pressure here. Christina from London, please.
Hi. There are people who grow up in communities like mine that are concerned about policing. Statistics show that systemic racism, sexism and misogyny are still prevalent in UK policing. Do you accept that these issues are in fact systemic? And what are your plans to improve?
Yeah, but I think he quite likes that. I
mean, the only manifesto so far that's even mentioned the Casey review has been the Green Manifesto. I don't remember if it did. The Jeremy Corbyn Alternative Manifesto mentioned the Casey review, but I don't know whether the Greens mentioned it or not.
Yeah. I think the Conservative answer is literally, yeah, though the police are like that, but that's actually that's a good thing. Because the police are awesome, and if you disagree, go fuck yourself.
Relations and build trust between the police and our communities.
Yeah. Well, misogyny, racism, discrimination has absolutely no place in our society, but particularly when it comes to the police, because they're people that we look to protect us and trust and all the things.
You sure? Because the backbenchers behind you seem to be very keen on a lot of those things. A lot of sexual assaulters and racists and just general perverts of all kinds, really. No? Okay.
Things that we've seen and read about over the past year or two have been really appalling and shocked us to our core, because we thought, hang on, the people that we put our trust in, they're a small minority and we shouldn't tar the entire police force with the actions of a small minority, but a small minority of people who were behaving in a way that...
Technically 40% is a minority.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Technically.
Was completely reprehensible.
So you don't accept
and it's right that those people are held to account. Now, the Met in particular, there are issues, and actually we instituted a report which was done, which now the new Met Police Commissioner is working through to improve relations and make sure the Met is focused on policing in the right way.
Yeah, no, we know they've literally focused on better PR. That's what they've focused on. Lying to people more effectively and covering up their shit.
Also want to make sure that our communities are safe. Safe for you, safe for everyone else, safe for my two girls to walk around in, which is why we're putting more police officers on the street, giving them the appropriate powers they need, and toughening up sentencing, particularly for the most violent crimes, and focusing especially on violence against women and girls. So that's what we're doing on policing.
Significantly.
Police numbers today are at a record high, and if we're elected, then we'll put 8,000 more police officers on the street, warranted officers, which one for every...
Disembodied voice is shouting statistics at him now.
One extra one for every neighbourhood, because I think to that lady's point, that neighbourhood policing is really important, and having police officers who know their communities well, and I was out with some not that long ago, where they can build those relations is really
What's also important is accepting that it is a systemic issue. First you accept that, and then you can plan to change the things so that these things don't happen again. It's not just bad apples if it happens over and over again. Does that make sense?
And in the Met in particular, as I said, there are a range of issues. We instituted a report to look into them, and the new Met Police Commissioner is there and is reforming the Met so that it can actually learn from the mistakes of the past and let's make sure that these things don't happen again.
Right, thank you. Our next question comes from Amy from Leeds. There she is, please, Amy.
Hi, Prime Minister.
Hi.
My name's Amy. I'm a former Conservative Party chair and a lifelong True Blue. But in this election, I find myself an undecided voter. Actions taken by this government actually make me feel ashamed. You left David Cameron at the D-Day celebrations to represent our country. To me, this feels like a deliberate action, as you know that your ratings in the polls are so low. How do you plan to rebuild the public's trust in you, or is it already irreparable?
Well, Amy...
Can I just say, her analysis is slightly out of whack there, because if he did this because his poll numbers were already bad, how was this going to make it better? Do you know what I mean?
I know, right? Like, that's so very funny to me. That's just like everybody else. I mean, I think what he did was terrible, and it's a really bad kind of look for a campaign. But as far as questions about policy goes, pretty kind of small fry and not particularly relevant. It's very interesting that all of the normal human beings there were all asking about healthcare or policing or house building or education or tax policy or his 5 things he said he would do that he then missed on. The ex-Conservative Party chair in True Blue. Yeah. What about that one time you didn't turn up for the thing? And I'm like, sure, it was bad, but is it materially as bad as all the actually important questions he's being asked?
Yeah, like if he'd done really well on all of the other issues, but he also missed the D-Day thing, he'd probably be all right. Look, it's a bad look. It's not great PR, but people will go, well, the economy's doing all right. He sorted out the housing problem, didn't he? That's lovely, yeah. Whereas actually he's fucked up all of that, and he didn't go to D-Day. He can't do anything. That's the problem.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. If the whole point of the Tory campaign is that they're trying to siphon a few votes back from Reform, if there was one thing designed perfectly to make Reform voters not want to vote Tory, it's the brown guy not bothering to turn up to the D-Day thing. Like, it's almost like an evil scientist came up with the perfect event to drive middle England Tory voters to Reform. Do you know what I mean?
For all your previous volunteering and service to the party. And when it comes to D-Day, as I said, I absolutely did not mean to cause any offence or hurt. That was not my intention.
But you did.
I made a
mistake.
mistake.
You did do that,
yeah. I unreservedly apologise for it, and all I can do is ask for people's forgiveness. And when it comes to trust in my commitment to our veterans community and the pride that I have and what they've done for our country, you know, what I would say to people is you can look at the things that we've done. There is a veterans minister sitting around the cabinet table for the first time.
That's a good line. He got it confused with Dunkirk and fucked off back to the UK. You know what? He was just honouring the wrong event. He thought beach, northern France. He was a 50-50 shot and he bollocks it. Oh.
With more funding than we've ever had, focused on supporting veterans with their mental health, physical health, employment opportunities, housing, because it's something I care.
No, modernism. The reason he left was because he had to be interviewed in the UK, and he thought that was more important than, like, honouring the fucking veterans.
Yeah, and then when he got to the interview, he apologised he couldn't leave earlier.
Yeah, he apologised and went, "Oh, you overran. Look, these old pricks were wasting my fucking time. Did they not realise my time is precious? Whereas these dickheads are going to be dead soon, so who even cares, you know?"
About. But more generally at this election, as you said, you're undecided. This election is about the future and the future that you want for our country. And I believe that the manifesto that we put out yesterday contains a very clear plan, a bold set of actions that will deliver a more secure future for you and everybody. And that starts with cutting everyone's taxes, because I believe people should keep more of their hard-earned money. It means bringing migration down. It means a more sensible approach to net zero that prioritises our energy security and your family bills. And it means protecting pensioners, because I think if you've worked hard all your life, you deserve dignity in retirement. So those are some of the things I talked about yesterday. That's a choice at this election. It's an important moment for our country, but given the opportunity, I can deliver a secure future for you and everyone else.
And I would, yeah, thank you so much. I would usually agree. I just think that...
Is this person actually a Tory? Because they've got yellow nail polish, which makes me think pronouns in bio. Is this an undercover leftoid? What's happening here?
And I'll be very honest here, that picture of the Queen, our late Queen, who was left to bury her husband on her own during COVID, following guidance that we all followed, and knowing what was happening in Downing Street, and you were part of that, and you had a fixed penalty notice, and you've apologised, and I understand all of that. That's where the trust broke down, and I just think...
So he's a dream killer who was partying whilst the Queen was crying.
Who left D-Day early.
Who left D-Day early. What a winning pitch, Rishi. You really nailed it.
We have long memories in this country as a public, and you really will have to go some. And I appreciate the apology tonight. Thank you very much. But that you have to realise that there is a long way to go to really rebuild that.
Yeah, no,
This is savage.
Those rules were difficult for everyone to follow, and the government should absolutely...
Well, I mean, you were the ones writing them.
And it wasn't.
You
Was it? Well,
were, you know?
It was difficult for everybody else to follow. It was very easy for you folks to break.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Even the Queen, who, like, you'd expect her to get away with some shit. Like, the police are not going to go around and knock on her fucking door. And even she was like, "No, well, I'll just cry on my own, for my dead husband." whilst the fucking Prime Minister gets a nosh in the fucking on the 10 Downing Street sofa.
Then throws up on the wall.
Throws up on the wall, ambushed by cake. Honestly, I'm surprised she didn't call the army in on him. Just get a tank down 10 Downing Street, will you? Put the shits up them.
Absolutely have gone above and beyond in following them, and I deeply regret what happened. I apologise for it at the time, and it was an extraordinarily difficult time for our country. And
when you have to apologise for, like, everything you've done.
Literally, I apologise for existing.
Yeah,
yes.
I apologise that we didn't do anything about the healthcare or the migration numbers. I apologise for the D-Day thing. Apologise for partying. I apologise for my own existence. Can you please put me out of my misery? This is a pain that cannot be described. Okay? I am experiencing horrors beyond human conception right now.
Know that, and I know that people will remember that, and all I can say is, look, trust takes time to rebuild through actions, and whether it was what we did during COVID to support the NHS, roll out the vaccine, support people's jobs, what I've done over the past 18 months to deliver on restoring economic stability and make
You can see a man visibly shrinking before your eyes. He's just disappearing. There's nothing left of him.
Making progress on bringing migration down. That's how you earn trust, through your actions, making progress on the things that matter to people. And that's what I plan to talk to people about through the rest of this campaign. And yesterday's manifesto sets out a direction of travel for the future.
Should Amy and other Conservatives vote for reform?
No. Very simply, no.
Why not?
And the reason for that, I'm
What did they say?
You asked the question, right?
They said, why should we vote for the Tories and not reform?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or should we vote?
I mean, yeah. There's no reason. There's no reason.
Yeah,
if you're a
exactly.
Conservative, you should vote for reform. Like, simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's horrible because, you know, they've got candidates.
They're
who think
awful.
We should have been neutral with Hitler. So, you know, that's a thing. Lovely. But if you are a Conservative who cares about, you know, conservatoid, brain rot, dumb shit, then that's actually the party that might do something about that, I guess.
Yeah.
The reason for that is a vote for reform ultimately is a vote to put Keir Starmer into number 10. So if
No,
you're
it's not.
someone
It's a
who-
vote to put Nigel Farage into number 10.
Yeah. Also, a vote for Keir Starmer in number 10 is a vote for a Conservative Prime Minister. So, you know, it doesn't really make a lot of difference.
cares about cutting taxes, If you're someone who cares about cutting taxes, protecting pensions, a sensible approach to net zero that prioritises security in your bills, or indeed bringing migration down, both illegal migration and stopping the boats, I'm the person that is going to deliver
failed
that
on all of
for you,
these,
not
yes,
Keir
we know.
Starmer. Keir Starmer doesn't have a plan to tackle illegal migration.
Just screaming, you failed. Oh, man, this is fucking... Oh.
Fatality. The guy's
Just-
getting absolutely rinsed this evening.
This is actually painful. People are just
Give up.
screaming at him.
Just give up. Give up. It's over. It's Jova.
It would be less embarrassing if he left the stage. Just went, oh, fuck
Yeah,
this.
true.
It just left.
Yeah.
Like, at least that would be a human reaction to people screaming you failed. Fuck me, this is brutal.
Right, Keir Starmer is not going to cut your taxes. Keir Starmer is going to reverse all the reforms I made to getting us to net zero in a way that saves you money, and that's going to put up everyone's bills. So that's the choice, right? And Keir Starmer is certainly not matching the triple lock plus, which is going to protect pensioners, and instead there's going to be a retirement tax for every pensioner in our country. So that's the choice for you and for everyone else thinking about it on the issues that you care about. Who is more likely to deliver for you? And a vote for anyone who's not a Conservative is just a vote to put Keir Starmer in number 10.
PM, I've got another question. It's from William. Where is he? He's a student from Grimsby. There he is.
Hi there. Thank you,
William.
Prime
Take it
Minister.
away.
Given the recent policy announcements regarding national service for younger people,
I didn't realise they were letting school kids in. What is this? Oh, no. Am I just old? Am I just a disgusting fat old mess of a thing?
you alluded to
God
the
almighty.
quadruple lock on state pensions, as well as your record and the Conservatives' record in government, why would a young person today believe the Conservative Party has their best interests at heart?
I mean, they wouldn't.
So,
like, I know they're polling at, like, basically no percent amongst 18 to 30-year-olds or whatever, but even those people who are like, who are you? What the... that has to just be, like, the kids of millionaires or some shit, right?
Mm.
Like, it's just... why would any young person vote for this? Freak.
William, actually, on national service, I have 2 young girls. I'm incredibly excited for them to do it, because I think it'll be transformative for our country. I really do, because it'll provide skills and opportunities for young people that will set them up for the rest of their lives. Foster
it's just withering laughter, or someone shouting you failed, or the host cutting in and going, actually, no, that's not true. You're full of shit. Like, everything he says.
Culture of service in our society, bring people closer together and contribute to our long-term resilience and security. And actually everywhere I've been, people have been really positively talking to me about it, and actually parents more than anyone else excited about what it will do for their kids. But more broadly, so that's just one thing, right? A couple of days after that, we announced another big policy where I want to provide opportunities for young people, you and everyone else, which is why we're going to curb the investment into rip-off degrees, which let young people down, and take that money.
So actually, we put out a thing. We put out a thing saying that people have worked really hard at their degrees. It doesn't mean anything. Fuck them.
Well, literally, like, the 2 policies he's got to win over young people are policies that they've deliberately crafted to look at to be voted on by people who aren't young people because they hate young people.
Yeah, just boomer bait is what they're aiming at 18-year-olds, and then wondering why no 18 to 40-year-olds
what we're going to do?
We're
going to force you to do volunteering you don't want to do, or to do military service you don't want to do. And on top of that, we're taking away options that you've got for potential university courses. So that should you want to do, I don't know, history of art or whatever, nope, not allowed anymore.
But, you know, posh lads doing classics at Oxford, oh, that's a well worthwhile thing. Yeah, it's brilliant. We'd really need more classics majors. Fucking hell. It's interesting what they see as rip-off or pointless, isn't it? Interesting how they define exactly what that is. If it means shit that poor kids might be interested in, yeah, it's a rip-off.
And use it to fund 100,000 high-quality apprenticeships, which actually can provide an enormous opportunity for people. And the answer to the question, I think Ian's first question, wasn't it, Ian? There you are, Ian's daughter, with buying a house. Because when I talk to young people, that's the thing, they want a great job, and they want to be able to buy their own home. And what we announced yesterday in the manifesto a couple of days ago is going to make a big difference, because it's going to mean that it's much easier for young people to get on the housing ladder and buy their first home. So whether it's an amazing apprenticeship, whether it's national service, whether it's buying your own home, actually what you're seeing are bold ideas that will make a big difference and spread opportunity around.
Just say no. Are you going to criminalise them? Are you going to set a generation of young people up with criminal records for just saying no?
No, of course not, of course not.
OK, but if it doesn't have any legal backing, then it's not compulsory, it's just a suggestion, then I guess?
Which is fine. Like, if it was just a suggestion, no one would care. If it wasn't mandatory, people wouldn't care.
But also it wouldn't make any difference, because no one would fucking do it. Like,
no,
there would be, like, other than people who wanted to go into the military anyway or something, who would bother? Who's going to waste a weekend every month training with the army? Like, it's ridiculous. Also, they're probably lying. They probably will criminalise kids, because it's... Look, he's set his stall out on this now. Well, actually, why am I even talking like he's going to be Prime Minister? He's not, obviously. Honestly, it's rare you go into an election with one of the two main leaders and you basically have to treat them like the head of the Green Party or Reform or UKIP. They're not going to be Prime Minister, so it doesn't matter what they say. Even though he's Prime Minister, it doesn't matter what he's saying. Irrelevant.
No, of course that's not the thing. And actually what we said we would do is set up a royal commission, which we haven't had in this country for actually about 25 years, and they're set up independently to look at big things like this. And there are lots of models from across Europe that you can look at to make sure that we have an appropriate mix of incentives and sanctions, and that's how other countries do it. And actually, if you talk to other countries around Europe, and when you talk to them, actually the percentage of young people that recommend it and love it is extremely high, and they think it's an incredibly fulfilling apprenticeship.
I'd really like to get a final question. William, very quickly, but I've got 2 minutes.
The national service policy, it might be popular amongst parents, as you said. The quadruple lock on pensions might be popular amongst parents and older generations, but it's not popular amongst younger people. Why are you moving your party so far away from younger voters when it's the key demographic that will be our future?
Because he cares about...
I hate them.
They hate young people, but also the only people who will vote for them at this election at all is old people. So they have to maximise the potential 65-year-olds who are voting.
Well, yeah, exactly. Both the Labour and the Tories are fighting over swing demographics, of which young people are not one, right? Yeah. Both parties have essentially told the youth to fuck themselves. It's why that I've told all the young people I had to go and vote Green. I was like, you can't let these people shit on you and take your vote for granted, or ignore you altogether. Like, otherwise you'll find a party that will take your needs to heart, and then you should support them and build a coalition.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's that kind of power vacuum that's generationally lagged that allows for fascism to grow, potentially.
Exactly.
That's slightly worrying with the likes of Nigel Farage, the little shark waiting in the wings. Oh, I love it.
Okay, I'm going to go to the last question.
You do have to let him answer. You can't. Otherwise, it's literally just people shouting at him. I know he's going to say something dumb and not answer the question, but you can't just have the guy go you're full of shit, mate. Okay, next question. You have to let him answer.
Can I answer the question?
Well, I can't get the... Yeah, go on.
William, look, I think national service is transformational and positive for young people. I think cutting stamp duty and help to buy to get young people their first home is really positive for young people. I think creating more high-quality apprenticeships is really good for young people. And when young people getting into work, getting a tax cut so they can keep more of their hard-earned money is really positive for young people. And actually, I don't view society as an us versus them, because every young person also has a grandparent, and I think they want their grandparents to be looked after when they retire, and that's why I think it's right to do the triple lock +2, and I think you agree with that as well.
Happy with that? You happy with that, William?
Yeah, but I think we can do both at the same time.
And that's the point, we are doing both. We're cutting taxes
you're
for
not.
young people buying their first home, creating new apprenticeships, and the Triple Lock Plus to protect pensioners who have worked hard all their lives and are grandparents to those young people. We are doing those things, and as I said when I was sitting there, we can cut taxes for people at every stage of their life. That's the type of country I want to build.
OK. OK, I'm afraid we are out of time. Prime Minister, thank you.
I wanted to hear what Samantha had
Thank you so much for joining us here in Grimsby tonight. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That was an evisceration.
That was, honestly, I have rarely seen a dissection as clean as that.
It was a total mauling. You got mauled.
You got moided,
yeah.
Frankly.
Moided.
Absolutely, I loved it. I enjoyed. Both of them got savaged. Again, it's because of the rules around, you know, impartiality and all the rest of it around election time. Journalists are doing journalism. If only they'd do that in between elections. What a world we could have.
Quite so, quite so.